All right, we're ready when you are, man.
Okay, it is now 6:32 and I call this meeting to order. This is City Council meeting November 16th, 2021. And if you would, we gotta do roll call first. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos, I believe she'll be joining us when she's done with her other meeting. Councilmember Bunker.
Here.
Councilmember Shell Allen. Here. Oh, good. Councilmember McLeod,
Here.
Councilmember Clinton,
Here.
and Mayor Glaze is here. So if you would all rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And then if you'd remain standing for the invocation, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord God, we just are so grateful to be living in the United States and in the city of Martindale, Texas. Lord God, you have blessed us so much with such a rich history, and we are very grateful to you for that. Lord God, we just ask that as we go forward governing this little city, that you just give us wisdom and patience to deal with everything that we need to deal with. We just ask this in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, and we're gonna go right into the presentation for the BVRT Water Resources. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to y'all.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thomas Rhodes, TKR Enterprises, here on behalf of BVRT Utility Holding Company. Also here tonight with me is Dan Adelino, General Manager for BVRT. John Littlefield, Southwest Engineer for BVRT, and then Daniel Guerrero with JL Powers and Associates, Public Relations, and yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you wanted to use the,
Oh, hey, thank
and
you.
then your hands free for you.
JL Powers and Associates, political consultant, and marketing advertising advisor. So who is BVRT?
Yeah.
And so you have in your handouts, if you go to this third page. BVRT is a water resource recovery, formerly known as wastewater treatment, and reuse company in Texas. It was founded in July of 2013. Currently has 7 water resource utility companies, 6 operational, 1 under permitting in the region. And then as of this past year, the major investor in BVRT is a company out of California, California Water. It's the 3rd largest publicly traded water utility company in the country. So rapid growth in the areas of constraints on the traditional models, and BVRT is able to come in and alleviate the financial burdens as a private utility company that often plague smaller municipalities and regions that are underserved from a utility standpoint. Next slide, we have just the key personnel of BVRT. Stephen Greenberg is the managing general partner and CEO. Me is here tonight, and then you can see the rest of the general team. On the next slide, this is the current BVRT utility companies. Down at San Antonio, on the west side of San Antonio, there's Forest Glen Utilities, and then down outside of New Braunfels, Good Road. And then the remainder are mostly up in our region, with Plum Creek being in Ewan, Rail Yard, and Niederwald, Windy Hill Utility in Niederwald, and Camino Real Utility out in Mustang Ridge. If you go to the next slide. So Plum Creek Utility in Ewan, that's actually a picture of Stephen Greenberg drinking the wastewater effluent out of the back of the wastewater treatment plant, believe it or not. It is clean enough to be drinkable.
Oh, no.
That is the quality
Oh,
of
my
the
God.
level
I don't
that
know
they
if I
treat
can do
water to, wastewater to.
Yeah,
We saw it, it is crystal, it's as clear as this.
yeah.
Yeah, and a couple of the council members, I believe, actually went out to this facility on an open house and were able to.
Are you
See,
sure that wasn't Mike in a mask?
There
Just keep rolling through the next couple of slides. This is Forest Glen down in San Antonio. It's currently being expanded and renovated, bringing it up to, it was acquired, and then it's bringing it up to current standards.
Are
Green Hill
those solar
Utility-
panels laying down on the ground or?
No, those are like hatches to be able to access the equipment that's underground. A lot of
Oh,
the equipment itself
really?
is below ground, yes.
Oh,
And that's where some of those tanks are gonna be disappearing as this gets renovated. If you go back to the Plum Creek Utility Plant, all of the treatment and everything's underground. You see, you don't have any big tanks or anything that's
Oh.
underground. And so in that, that's equipment that's underground. Those are hatch panels and things to access that underground equipment.
Real quick, what is your discharge right now? Is it a 552.5 or? What do you got?
5.21 or
Is
better.
it, is 5521 or better?
Yeah, 5.21 or better.
Okay,
Okay.
so you have an exact on that or not?
John,
What the actual, what he's, what Bill's been testing that?
what's the actual testing for Plum Creek? Yeah.
I could get that to you, but no, I'm not.
Are any of your facilities, any of your facilities, is it a 5521, 552?
Well, they're all.
None of them are less than a 5.51.
Okay,
None of them are less than 5.51. We can get you the actual treatment numbers being measured out of that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And they're
Yeah.
all making the numbers.
okay, thank you.
When you say that, you mean none of them are less stringent than a 5521, but it may be a 5521.
Or better, or
Better.
more, yes.
On the phosphorus you're talking about.
Correct.
On the phosphorus, so point five is easily doable, in your opinion, a
I would think
552.5?
so, yeah. I think as far as I know, that's, the state standard has been the 5521, so that's what we'll be going with. I'm not sure.
Because, we do have a resolution, a 552.5 that we had resolution.
Okay.
Since the discharge will be in the San Marcos River, we would like to
Get
have
the
the five,
phosphorus level.
yeah, down to a 0.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
that's doable.
if you could get that information to us, I'd appreciate
Oh,
it.
absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
And when it comes to that is we're contracting with a plant manufacturer who's doing the membranes and doing that specific equipment. So we give them the standard and say, this is what you have to design and make sure it meets. And so, while this one may be 5521, if we have to go to 0.5, that's the standard they'll be designed to.
And I guess, is it the right time to ask questions, or y'all want to do your
well,
presentation?
let's finish the product presentation.
If I may jump in for a moment, if we can allow Thomas and BBRT to make their full presentation prior to us asking questions for seamlessness for the public as well as council members who've not yet heard this presentation.
I'm fine with that. Go ahead.
Okay, not a problem. Before a couple of slides to the service area, next one after Windy Hill. So this is currently the service areas in this region, Central Texas. We got cities of Creedmoor and Mustang Ridge are covered up there with community utilities, Niederwald, and then going into Uland. And so if we were able to work with the city of Martindale, you can see the proximity to all the other facilities. It just makes sense. We are a regional footprint that is here and we're here to stay. So expanding, it's logically a good partnership. On the next slide. So the actual question about, why are we here? So we have an existing footprint and we're working on expanding that, and growth is inevitable. I think we all know that and can understand it and appreciate it. With growth comes development. And it's going to come one way or the other, and the way to help control it is through utilities and smart infrastructure. And so BVRT is here because it's a ready, willing, and able partner in the region to work with City of Martindale. City of Martindale's existing facilities are outdated and have antiquated technology, and BVRT can provide a solution that can bring that into current standards and achieve the desired discharge limits and treatment standards. So then there's a couple of options when working with BVRT. BVRT can step in and be the full retail franchise wastewater provider. That would entail BVRT handling all aspects of the wastewater service. They would own, operate, and maintain the water resource recovery facility. That's a new term that's been adopted by the state for these facilities, It's formerly a wastewater treatment plant, but now it's a WRF, WRF, in the collection system. And then BVRT would establish all the rates and handle the retail billing and collection from the company, from the customers. And then the city would just collect a franchise fee and with a guaranteed minimum annual payment. The other option on the next slide is wholesale wastewater treatment provider. BVRT would provide treatment of the wastewater at the WRF. BVRT would own and operate that facility. And then the city would own, operate, and maintain the wastewater collection system. The city would establish the rates, handle retail billing and collection from the customers. BVRT would be able to fund major infrastructure additionally, lift stations, collection lines, things like that, would be able to help fund and participate in that. And the same thing with being able to contract with BVRT to handle the maintenance and operations on behalf of the city. Because the city of Martindale has an existing wastewater system, this is an available option to the city. So in this case, you have both options to consider. And then with that, I'll turn it over and we'll be available for any questions, comments. Our team is here and we'll already go ahead and start working on, we'll get the discharge numbers and show you the actuals coming out of the Plum Creek utility plant and the other facilities. We can get those in a couple of days.
Yeah, I have a question about the sludge. I mean, do you dry it in the field or do you truck it out, or how does the sludge?
Currently, it's all being trucked out. Yeah.
As sludge, so it's a liquefied
That's
product.
correct. That's correct. I think as we get the facilities larger, we'll probably have a sludge press on site. But then it will still be hauled off. We're not going to do any land application with it.
So how far do you have to truck it?
To Austin now?
They're talking, yeah.
Yeah.
Thompson.
I think around Weberville, there's a facility the city of Austin has.
And they take it, what do they do with it?
They have the facility to do it. They take all the city of Austin's
Do
all out there.
they charge you for that?
Oh, sir.
Is it pretty substantial?
Utility costs.
Is there any benefit of that material?
Yeah.
I mean, for fertilizer, like I know,
Certainly,
Yeah.
but as this land becomes less valuable for farming, it becomes less of an option. So if you get to a more rural area, we certainly still see land application. It's just financially with the cost of land. around
So what
the
what do they actually do with this material? They just, when y'all take it to the facility, what do they?
I've never been out to it.
I know.
We'd have to call them and ask them.
We pay them to come get it, they put it in
Yeah.
their truck and it's gone. And
But am I correct? A lot of times they can use this for fertilizer,
Certainly.
Yeah.
for non-human consumption, I imagine, or something like that.
Well, it's just like, TDS has its facilities for composting and recycling, those kinds of.
So I mean,
They
for,
sell that dirt. And
Yeah.
for, since our city, I mean.
I'm sure they make some kind of money off of it.
So for this little town, I mean, there is a lot of land. I don't know if would that be a viable option for us
We could certainly
to
look at it.
have, in order to save costs, to have, I mean, how much material are we talking about? Is it a massive amount? Like,
How often are we hauling at Plum Creek?
Quarterly.
Quarterly?
Oh,
And do you
okay.
have any feel for what the bill is? We hadn't even looked at it.
Okay, are,
Yeah, that's okay.
are the amount of material?
Get those numbers.
Right.
So I guess what I'm coming to at, if, I mean, a lot of areas like San Antonio or Austin, there is land out here. So I mean, is it viable? Is it viable to have?
Well,
To
I'll
grow
answer this
corn
way.
and cotton.
You
know.
have to get permitted.
I mean,
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
we grow a lot of corn and cotton out here.
You can get a land application permit for sludge. And it's been a while since I've been involved in one. We've done one down around Kennedy, Texas.
Close smell like food.
And you're right, it can't be for human consumption. But the specifics of it, it's been years since I've looked at it. So we could certainly, if that's a request of the city, we could
It'd just
certainly
it'd be-
analyze that.
Any other council agree with me? I mean, it's a good question. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's
If
it's
viable.
viable and it doesn't take a lot of room and you've got a small amount,
Yeah.
I mean, could that be something for cost
Well, look at all the
possibly?
cotton fields up 142.
I mean, I guess y'all could get back with us on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would seem like
Yeah,
with the,
we need to analyze that.
See,
Let's look at
see
that.
how affordable
Yeah.
this
it
is.
would seem like with the development though, I mean, you need to maximize the amount of available land you have to build on. I mean, you know that Walton wants to build homes, and so it's not like, even though we have vast fields around here that haven't been developed, it wouldn't be as financially sound, say, for you to have land where fields of, well, the sludge would be drying. I mean, that, unless they say lease the land from the city, because if you have to
Okay,
move
so,
it twice.
Jared,
It's a financial,
how many
cost.
acres do we have at our facility there?
40?
About 40 acres. Okay. So there you go. There's,
We need, a plant needs 2 acres for the footprint, 6 acres for the overall, once you put the buffers in it and everything. So there's excess land. There's some options, but let us look at what it takes from a permitting standpoint.
did you have to get with TC2? for the-
Yeah, because you got to permit the ability to do an
Okay.
application of that.
If
So
I-
let us
if I
look at
may-
that.
If I may chime in for just, pardon me, for just a moment. If we can get a recap, Thomas, so that we can all wrap our minds around the options of implementing this notion within the city versus dealing with the operations that you guys already have set forth. The options that you gave earlier, if you can just recap those, that's really what I would like to make sure that the council has an understanding. In order for us to move forward, we have to understand what the options are and what it would look like financially before we deal with and/or even ask questions regarding operations.
Yes, very, very good points. I will back up to that. So the city has an existing 40-acre piece of property where the plant and everything, it sits today. The idea would be that BVRT would permit a new state-of-the-art facility through TCEQ. It would be maxed out. It would say just under 1 million. Once you go over 1 million gallons per day, there's additional limitations. So it'd be maxed out to accommodate full growth. Initially, it would be phased and handle what is anticipated. And then we'd always, of course, work with the city on any developments coming in, be able to accommodate that growth, but put that plant on the city's existing dirt,
Okay.
tie the system in.
Okay.
I'll get off the stuff about the sludge, but for example, what does San Marcos do? What does a larger city do with their sludge? Do they keep it on site? Do they haul it off?
It's
All of it. So
Okay.
the city of San Marcos hauls it all off. So we got to kind of follow what the standard norm would be.
It's hauled, it's being cost prohibitive for us to be able.
That's all that can nick that out right now, because if we got to follow what the big cities do.
You're welcome.
So we are not going, so y'all will own the facility. We will not.
There's 2 options.
Two options. Jan.
Okay. all right.
Well,
Can you put those options up on the screen? Can you put those options up on the
They are
screen side by side?
We've got the retail up there right now, Lisa, and then the next
Okay.
slide is the wholesale. So in both scenarios, BVRT would own the facility because it's got to be financed. That's a very substantial cost to develop it. And so that would be a privately owned and operated facility contracted with the city. Under the retail franchise scenario, BVRT would step in on behalf of the city and take over complete ownership, operations, maintenance of the entire system. In essence, take over under contract
Our
agreement, the
utilities.
existing wastewater system,
Uh-huh.
start owning it, maintaining it, over time replacing it. And once it's replaced, ownership would be transferred of the existing. Any new infrastructure that's built would be owned by BVRT from the get-go. City would have a franchise fee agreement whereby there's, 2 to 4% traditionally is the number. Keep in
Kinda like
mind
with the
that
water
number.
company.
Yeah, exactly. And so keep in mind that number is a number that's passed on to the customers through the rates. And so we try to balance benefit to the city, and that's where there'd be a guaranteed minimum annual payment of that franchise fee, regardless of number of connections. And so starting out day one, y'all would be able to have a minimum, I think we said 50,000 a year was what we talked about.
Uh-huh.
In that payment, and then as the system grows and expands, it would obviously exceed that as those connections came in, but that would just help us be able to maintain those rates
Okay.
and balance that cost.
And, all right, I don't understand how this works as far as pumping stuff to each house. Are there lift stations like we have to deal with right now?
Yes.
That are really costing us a lot of money?
Yes, and so
And are you gonna be able to use the same lift stations or,
we would use,
and upgrade
essentially,
them?
yes, we
Yeah.
would use all the existing facilities and just take over ownership of that. And then as those lift stations needed to be repaired and replaced, repair them, replace them, take over the ownership of them, and that would all just fall under BVRT's umbrella.
Okay.
And
Deal,
for
and that-
clarification, for clarification, it's my understanding that this new facility would literally be on the same footprint as our current wastewater treatment facility. That ground is owned by the city.
Correct.
It's my understanding that this would be implemented just, adjacent to, but on the same parcel. And once the new facility is up and running, then our lagoon system would be taken offline and the new system would be using all current infrastructure to function.
And I think he could explain that.
Yeah, it's, I mean, literally you build it right next door and the minute, you take the existing connection, just extend it over the new plant and tie it in.
Okay.
And it's seamless on the existing. And so in this case, BVRT would have a long-term land lease. We'd enter into a 99-year ground lease with the city for the plant facility so that we could put it there. Another revenue stream for the city.
Yeah.
Minor revenue stream, but it's a long-term ground lease. It's something that y'all can put on the books. And then under the retail situation, y'all would have that franchise fee. Everything else would be handled by BVRT.
Mhm.
Because y'all do have an existing, Mr. McLeod, did you have a question?
Go ahead, continue, I'm sorry.
Because y'all do have an existing wastewater system that y'all own and operate currently, the option to have an alternative such as just wholesale treatment is available. It's similar to what BVRT has with Plum Creek Utility and County Line Sud right now. County Line Sud is the water provider, but BVRT has a contract via their subsidiary Plum Creek Utility to be the wholesale wastewater treatment provider on behalf of County Line Sud. County Line Sud owns, maintains, operates the wastewater lines, the lift stations, handles all the retail billing and everything. And BVRT is just responsible for treatment of the effluent at the work facility. That could be done here in Martindale under the wholesale treatment provider agreement. Again, long-term ground lease, BVRT would own and operate the plant and the facility. The city would own and operate and maintain the lines, the collection system, the lift stations, everything like that.
Oh, okay.
Now, there is an option with that for the maintenance and all of that, you could contract with BVRT and enter into an agreement that BVRT could handle that contractually on behalf of the city. And, essentially be the staff and personnel that owns, that manages and inspects all the lines and maintains everything on behalf of the city contractually. And then also with respect to lift stations, because that's a big concern, I know you just brought up a little while ago. Under this scenario, if the lift station is a major regional facility that is contributing and is something that BVRT can invest in and have the ownership of, they would, or work on reimbursement of that, they would be able to help participate in the cost of those and help offset some of the city's responsibility and financial obligation, help on some of the major costs out of pocket.
All right.
And then a lot of the times the internal lines to subdivisions as development occurs, those are extended by the developer, paid for by the developer and installed. So those would, under your subdivision ordinance, would be developed and installed by the developer.
All right, explain that again. So
as
the
development occurs, new
Uh-huh.
development occurs, they're gonna build new infrastructure and new lines as
Uh-huh.
part of their development. It's
Right.
required by your subdivision ordinance to
Uh-huh.
extend those utilities.
Yes.
And so it's those facilities, those lift stations
Right.
necessary for that
That'll be
development would be
included in their
built in
development
their cost, correct?
Okay.
It would be y'all's responsibility to maintain it long-term, and then
Uh-huh.
BVRT could do that on behalf of the city contractually.
Oh,
But
If
for
we
new
choose to do
development,
that.
if you choose to do
Yeah.
that, correct.
Jared, please chime in with me on this. So explain this to me. I mean, okay, right now we have approximately how many customers are on our sewer lines right now? How many households?
On wastewater
Yeah.
customers, about 300, I think.
Okay, so we,
386 was in the Walton report.
that's close. I mean, that's
Yeah,
not,
that's 3 to 4.
so,
That are currently
so at Plum Creek,
houses and businesses.
y'all told us y'all were doing 1,500 homes with that plant, correct? Right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk it through me, like, right now our system works for our 380 customers. So y'all put the system in, our system works for the 380, but we do have development coming through. So walk us through that time period to build the plant, and then at what time the cost for, say, if our base, say we're the first ones to hook up to it, say the developers haven't hooked up and we've got to hook up to it with our 380 customers, kind of walk us through that potential cost for each customer. If you could do
If
that.
it was a resident that came in and they bought,
As we got
a
now.
piece of land and wanted to put
But
a
just
house
as we
on
have now, Jan,
Yeah.
just as we have now.
Right.
Yeah, existing tax.
yes. That part of the question, what was the first part, among the first part?
Okay, the question is, we have approximately 380 taps right now.
Yes.
Our system works, you bring your system in, and I would assume, I don't know how fast developers,
Permitting process.
yeah, I don't know how,
That's what it was.
I don't know how long this process is gonna take, so. It depends, we don't know. We don't know the future, how many developers are coming in. So my question is, time frame to get the permitting, to build the plant, at what time do we have to put our 380 customers on that plant? And at that time, what would be the cost?
Timeframe was the first part of the question, cost is the second part. Timeframe, as soon as there's an agreement executed, BVRT would move forward with starting the permitting process through TCEQ. Anticipated 9 to 12 month permitting process through TCEQ. Once the permit is issued, anticipated 9 to 12 month construction window of the plant. So outside date of 2 years, you'd be able to flush a toilet in an existing house and be in the new plant.
Okay.
Cost of the customers is gonna be the same. We'll maintain all the existing, tap fees, things like that for existing customers. We don't want the existing customers to pay for a new system. That's gonna be borne by new developers. So we'll have an agreement built in with the city to keep those rates and things consistent with the existing rates and connection fees and everything that the city currently has.
I want to add on to that. This city, just like any other city, small community that's dealing with the growth that's coming in, is money's going to have to be spent. And you have a customer base that either can't afford it or does not want to afford to pay for this growth to come in. And so that's why we would set up the model, the business model, and the agreement where the rates stay the same for the existing customers. Over time they'll raise, but they'll raise at a completely different rate as they would for these new communities. They're going to pay the way for the new facilities.
So this is a good option for the new developers that are coming in when we're, as far as they want to come in and build something, we can say, yeah, we're getting this new wastewater plant and this is.
And it's a cost, and we're openly working with developers in other communities to get them to not build wastewater treatment plants in their own developments. They've got permits in Buds and Pids. And in Mustang Ridge, we just got DR Horton to agree to not build a plant in their new development. They're gonna come to the new facility that we're building. Because it takes that cost off of their budget. It takes that load off of them. It's a long-term maintenance issue for them. Financially, developers, at the end of the day, it comes down to a bottom line for them, and it's a cost that affects their bottom line. And one of the things about one of the things about those financing mechanisms, PIDs, MUDs, all of them, on a big development, at a certain point in time, the developer never gets all of the reimbursables possible. you can't issue enough bond money to get all of the infrastructure costs back. So there's always some that they're missing. They love this option because it frees up, takes wastewater off of their financing district, and they can go get reimbursed for some of the other facilities that they don't normally get covered.
Right.
Okay, well, please chime in, Jerry. Please chime in with me on
Would
that.
would that be subject to a contractual agreement to limit the ability of BVRT to seek a rate change with TCQ for existing customers?
Yes, we would, there's two options you can work with, and this is, and I think you're going down the road, the one the city would want, is the city would want the oversight to set fees and manage that. We would be following the PUC's guidelines on rate setting. But obviously, the option to have the city's oversight and final approval of those rates is available.
Thomas, can you repeat the question that was just asked?
What I asked Lisa is if, one of the questions that was posed was, what about rates for existing customers? And the question that I posed, would the agreement be subject to contractual limitations of the ability of BVRT to seek rate change even through DCQ? In other words, subject to the city's approval.
It'd be the Public Utility Commission.
Okay,
There's two options available.
Yeah.
Either you'll leave it up to BVRT, they can set the rates, they're gonna operate under the PUC's guidelines, or contractually, the city can have some oversight and say that final number. And obviously, I'm gonna
Off
say
the
that's the
uniform.
road we'll go down with you guys, and we don't need to explore the other one.
Okay,
So the, from kind of perspective, if there's a home that's built in a new area of Martindale and you're a brand new homeowner in a new subdivision, these costs of a treatment plant, unless there's one existing, even if there's one existing, we likely have some sort of impact fee. Those costs get transferred to those new homeowners in one way or another. The way the cost structure of something like this would work is they'd probably see a higher than normal bill on their wastewater, but they would not have a higher than normal additional tax levy on the property, like you would have under a MUD, under a public improvement district, or some other financing mechanism. So it's basically, it's a transfer of that financing burden on that property owner from a property tax standpoint to a monthly service charge. At some point, somebody's paying for the infrastructure, where they put it in, where we put it in, whoever puts it in, they want to pass that cost on the consumer. In this case, the consumer cost will be transferred to the new homeowners, new development, not under a contractual agreement, not under the existing customers that we have now.
so
Now the ability to control it, to control costs in the future might be different, based off of a rate setting structure that's overseen by the Public Utility Commission, which this would fall under, or an assessment that's paid on property taxes through a MUD or a public improvement district, which might be a finite amount or a known amount to that property owner that they pay down over 20 years, whatever the term ends up being for that financing. So it's the costs are going to be borne by the same people. It's just how they pay it's going to be different, and the city's ability to control costs and what that looks like are to whatever extent the contract allows, how that gets negotiated would determine what the city's autonomy would be in setting those rate structures, setting those costs up for those future residents. And so there is some element of control that we would essentially hand over to the Public Utility Commission. Some element of control in how the treatment plant is operated to the private entity. The net effect is likely similar, but those are the trade space, as I see it, is the degree of autonomy and degree of control that the city wants and how it wants to finance these type of improvements and have a say on, those future homeowners will become city residents and they'll be involved in the political process at that point too. They may not be today, but 10 years from now.
I guess I'm getting to that point, but I guess my point is the existing customers right now, the rates would not increase. We pay $25 a month.
as a base rate.
as a base rate right now. But I guess my question, and we talked about this, is developers come in, we have a really small city limits. We have a huge ETJ. So as we talked about it, and Bud, please chime in on this. As far as the way I look at it is, if these developers come in and they already have a treatment plant online already, they don't have to deal with the permitting process as Walton Group is going through right now. They don't have to go through the state. We have the facility, but everybody chime in if they agree with me. But for as a city, for us to make it beneficial and for to help us, they need to come in to our city limits. If a developer, say Walton wants to put 1,500 homes or whoever, and they're gonna tap into our treatment plant, we need to say, well, you know what, guys, if you're coming in, you've got to hook up to our plant, and you're gonna have to come into our city and pay taxes like everybody
So
else.
that kind of goes to the next point is, kind of the decisions that are before the council and consideration before the council tonight. One is, do you want to have a relationship with BVRT and continue
Yes.
these conversations?
We do.
I'm assuming I'm going to step out
We
on
do.
a limb and say,
We do. We
make a
do.
bold assumption that you do, so.
We do.
We're
I don't think we'd be
interested
here. I don't think we'd be
in
here.
the option.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be here.
I just said-
Right.
So but that is the first decision, and then the second is
But
evaluating these two options and making the decision on what's best for the city ultimately. The city attorney has been provided with copies of the template agreements that BVRT operates under for both options. And so really the next decision before you tonight is, what's the best benefit for the city? And we talked about it previously, annexation being the number one thing. I would defer to your city attorney to make sure to protect yourselves on being able to ensure that, and no matter what decision you make with BVRT, just make the one that protects the city the best and be
Well,
able to
what-
annex and control y'all's future interests.
I guess what I'm talking about, we need you guys to be partners with us to assist us, because these developers they're smart folks. They know how to make money. As we are aware of Walton Group, I don't want to get into that subject, but I have a pet peeve with those people. Again, we can have these agreements, but again, it's a shell game. And I can say, I love this idea. I think it's a great idea. I think it's good for the river. It's good for the community. But again, we got to be extremely careful how we go about this, because these developers want to come in, they want to get that mud in, and they want to flip it, and they want to go to the next project. We're here. This is our community. We're stuck here. We want to make sure that we don't get burned.
And so also BVRT is in that same mode, to make an investment and a commitment to the community. They're here 40, 50 years. That plant's here.
Correct.
They've got an ownership stake in the community, and yes, all the developers, we want to encourage them. As a utility entity, there's only so much we can do to force a developer to come to the city. And so contractually, what y'all have to consider and what's before y'all to consider, and I'll leave it to the city attorney to have his expertise, but it's what protects y'all's interests and which of these options, which one of them is the one that's going to be the most beneficial for y'all. There's, with the annexation laws that have changed, the state legislature changed those. They're much more restrictive on cities now. And so there's very few mechanisms by which y'all can force a developer to come in and negotiate. And so just protecting y'all's interests is the number one thing.
Right.
And we are definitely aligned with the city as far as that goes, and wanting to have annexation and that growth. It's got to pay for it, and y'all have to benefit from that tax base and that growth.
Oh, I had a question about, okay, so.
Let Jared was going to say.
Okay, go. If you're maintaining all aspects of wastewater service, say if someone builds a new house, and we have that currently in place now, I don't know how much we charge to hook up a sewer line.
$1,700.
We have a tap fee of,
That's a
I think,
deposit.
750 plus a deposit of $1,000.
And that's a deposit. Ultimately, it costs anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 that the homeowner will pay for.
So if someone comes in and wants to build 400 homes and you're maintaining all the aspects of the service, then you would charge a certain amount to
To the
someone
developer.
that's building this new house.
Just like the city, we'd have a connection fee There's the service
Yes.
fee, and it's all the same operations
Yes.
essentially as the city. Yes.
Inspection.
Yeah, if it's a
deposit.
single home,
Inspection
the homeowner
deposits,
will
yeah.
be in charge, will be in charge of the fee.
Right.
If it's a developer, the developer will probably include that into the sale of the house.
What's an example of the monthly sewer fee or bill at the Plum Creek Utility District?
It is $66 a month,
It's $65.
$65.
And how many homes?
There are 500 today, there'll be 1,000 this time next year.
And is $65, how many thousand gallons does that cover, or does it amp up based on usage, or?
That's a fixed rate,
It's
Yeah.
a flat fee.
that's a flat fee.
There's
no matter
there's-
how-
$65.
There's no way, and Jerry was kind of touching on this earlier, there's no way you can actually charge a rate that covers the initial operational costs of the plant.
No.
When you have 10 customers, it's gonna cost hundreds of, or thousands of dollars. The more, so you have to set that low enough to where it's market and it's considerably affordable. And so it's a fixed rate initially, and can change over time once the system gets to that threshold of being paid for itself.
Just to extend the answer.
Yeah.
These are for single family homes, $65 a month. And so this is new homes in a new neighborhood. If you're gonna have a commercial facility or a restaurant or something like that, we're gonna analyze that based on square footage and actual usage. So there could be some other method, but the intent is it to be a flat rate.
Have you been out to the Westridge neighborhood and the treatment plant there and seen our facility there?
The existing, yes,
Existing?
yes.
There's homes there on larger tracts of land, and they're used to sort of a country style way of life. I mean, are you anticipating using that main road coming into the water treatment plant that we currently have? Or would you have to build a newer road to, for your vehicles or the sludge trucks and all that? Because that's a residential neighborhood there
Certainly,
of established homes and families. And
certainly.
Sam, I would recommend you go to their facility and see the footprint.
Yeah.
That would show you a lot right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but still the road, they have to use that main
I know,
road.
I understand.
You're still going down West Road, I mean, we would have to go down.
It's a narrow road.
Yeah.
Unless the city's piece doesn't have frontage out to 80, you'd have to get an easement or something across that other front parcel if you needed an alternative access point. But the logical one is using the existing
Yeah, I would.
West Ridge and then down.
I mean, what kind of, how big is the traffic for business
Yeah.
operating? How-
Once every 3 months.
You know, yeah, how big is the traffic gonna be
Otherwise it's a
operating?
truck.
I mean, what is it now?
Gotcha.
It's
So
probably.
it's probably gonna be about the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's probably no different on the regular nights, and then once a quarter
Right.
you get the.
Now, when they're building, it'll probably be pretty busy, but
Well, yeah, when the plant's in
Right.
construction and everything, yes, it'll be a lot busier, but.
Okay, that's all I have.
The question I had for, I think might be beneficial for the council to understand is, what's the engineered useful life, like, what's the standard useful life of the plant once it's built? And then what kind of planned service like extension programs are envisioned with this thing that gets us to how many years? Kind of the question is,
99 years.
Yeah, I mean, the standard depreciation on a facility like this would probably be about 40 years. But
Okay.
the method that we're doing on these new facilities, it's a concrete structure buried into the ground 12 or 17 feet, depending on who the manufacturer or what technology, we're going with. So it's a concrete structure. We're putting membranes into it.
Okay.
So those have a certain life. It's going to be much less than 40 years, but those get replaced really regularly. That gets put into the
That's
old
just regular
operation
maintenance.
cost, yeah. And so concrete facility that's maintained well is going to last as long as any of us are gonna be around to worry about it. I would say. So it will be here for a long, long time. And we expect the growth to come in. So we're not building today for 30 years worth of growth. That economically doesn't make any sense. We're gonna do a phased approach. And the first phase is probably gonna be the smallest. Our fifth phase is gonna be much, much bigger. So if we're having some age issues on it, then we've got a lot more wiggle room at that point in time.
is there an opportunity at the end of that depreciation period, or maybe at the lease, however the lease is structured, for the city to either buy out or take ownership of the facility at some point? So, 50 years down the line or something like that?
And that question has been asked before, and the answer has always been yes. Keep in mind, if every 2 years or 5 years, there's an expansion and another phase, well, that has additional monies that have gone into it. Well, the first phase may have depreciated fully.
Yeah.
The fifth phase has still got $10 million or whatever it is on it. So-
Okay.
But that's absolutely.
It'd be subject to subject to the city's ability to take over.
Right.
Any, I mean, probably similar to a mud structure where you can take over it.
So you've done some I know you've done some preliminary looks and capacity planning. I know the river creates a lot of difficulties, but would your intent be to build enough capacity within the city's existing land
I was gonna-
to accommodate all the planned future growth that could be possible in the region, Maxwell to the river, 130 to 110, kind of
John's
thing.
firm actually analyzed that, and you could, on the city's existing plant, that plant could actually serve everything on the north side of the river. And then south side of the river, you do a whole separate plant. Don't bore the river, don't mess with that. Do another plant on the other side of the river, and I think there was actually 2 on that side, or maybe.
Yeah, there's 2. I remember y'all.
Well, we wouldn't be concerned with anybody on the other side of the
Well,
river.
that's on our
Well,
ETJ.
you've got a lot of.
Oh, that's in our
ETJ.
ETJ.
That's our
You've got a lot
ETJ.
of ETJ area.
That's
Listen, there's
Yeah.
a lot of
Even though
ETJ
it's a
area
different
over
county,
there,
it's
yeah.
still in our
So
ETJ.
what we want to do.
Double the ETJ
Yeah.
map, and
Right.
that's what we
I
analyzed
forgot
was
about
the
that.
ETJ area is a lot larger than just the.
Yeah.
What you think about it.
Right.
I was talking to Brian, I guess it was Brian, one of your construction,
Oh, yeah.
he had a brilliant suggestion. I wish he could have been here. He was really good. But he said you could build out your concrete holding tanks. You could, while you're doing a pour, you could go ahead and have those into the system, whereas you could have that built in
Okay, okay.
to expand.
That's not,
Yeah, you
that
wanna-
doesn't help us
the-
with the decision.
The
So-
Point Creek facility we're expanding on right
No.
now. When we poured the concrete, how many phases was that for?
Well, so the first phase, the first tank was, we built a 60 and then expandable to 150. So basically, they build the whole footprint for the 150, and they just put in the appurtenances for the 60. And the next phase is the 150 expandable to 300.
So in my mind, I'm thinking like a hotel conference suite where you're putting up partition, you're pouring the concrete, you're throwing down little partitions and you kind of
So
move
it
it
stays on
down
the
as you
same
go.
property?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
It's,
Each phase does? And are you saying it builds up?
No.
Yeah, like-
Builds out?
It builds out.
Horizontally around the existing.
Uh-huh. And you just kind of do that
As you need to expand.
as needed?
It follows the same TCEQ
Uh-huh.
rules that a city would have to have. As it gets, I think, 75% to capacity, you're gonna be under design of your next phase. We would be subject to all the same regulations. And so
let's-
you have to phase that growth.
Would that be cost effective to, say, build additional capacity you do not use while you're doing your pour, while you're doing your pad, to go ahead and expand it, say, for example, you had 1,500 homes, and you say, okay, we could go ahead and make a pour while we're doing this pour, because the guy was telling me that, you can save costs.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it for 5,000 homes or 6,000 homes. We got that initial pour, it's engineered, you do that pour, and then you have that capacity built into the system.
So
As
the facility you saw when you
Yeah.
visited was originally poured, the concrete was poured for 150,000 gallons a day, and we put in the equipment for 60,000 gallons a day.
Okay.
And then when it was just expanded right before you guys got there, was to take it all the way up to 150,000 gallons a day. So the second, another 90,000 gallons worth of equipment was put into that first pour. The second pour is gonna start any day now, and that'll be similar, 150,000 in the first phase, but the pour will be for 300,000.
That's a separate little plant.
And that's
That's
different.
That's a separate concrete.
Yeah, that's a separate,
structure in the
you
ground.
showed
So
me,
that's like
you
phase
showed,
2.
you
Yes.
showed me,
Okay.
Yep.
you showed me across the fence you're gonna do.
Exactly.
Would it be cost effective to have a larger facility on that first footprint? Is it,
It's
like,
all-
am I kicking it, am I getting too?
Well, you get into the weeds on it for sure, but what you're looking at is we want to be as economical as possible. We also want to mitigate risk. So if we go in and pour it for eventually concrete for 2 million gallons a day, well, that's a lot of money up front and a lot of risk and a lot of time potentially you have to carry
And
those costs
maybe-
out.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it's a balancing act. Is this city going to grow 4,000 homes a year? Well, we're going to look at it one way. If this city's going to grow 500 homes a year, we would have to look at it a different
Okay.
way.
Let's look at
Does-
it now.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's
What
where-
is our
Well,
Well,
capacity
Jan,
now?
Jan, let me say something first. What I'm getting at, we've heard about a lot of it. We're talking about it's huge. We're talking about, look at Colin Butte exploding overnight. I mean,
Yeah.
what I'm seeing and talking to people and talking to realtors and developers, this place is going to explode.
Well,
I mean,
think-
literally
I think what
explode.
I think what John Adler
If
is
they could get
50,000
more.
OUEs in the ETJ, within the city limits in ETJ, ultimately to build up. So 50,000 OUEs, that's, I mean, a lot of connections.
Okay.
So yes, that
I mean,
that
do we
growth is
really
there, and
want it
that's,
to grow?
and that's where, well,
It's
that's
gonna-
where we work with the
That's
city.
not our
and
option.
we become a partner.
It's not, it's going to grow, Jan. We can't, it's going to grow. It's going to grow. We can't, the only limit,
Well,
it's going to grow.
let's-
It's how do you
I'm
responsibly,
just trying to write,
how do you
my head
responsibly
around what is
control
we have
that growth
now
and manage it? That's the,
and what's
and
we
in
know
utilities,
is coming up.
centralized utilities.
We can't hear when more than one person's talking, just, I'm just saying, we couldn't hear with 3 people talking at one time.
Jan, what was your question?
I'm just trying to wrap my head around, what we have currently, 300 some odd people, and what we know is coming up, especially with the Walton Group. And what kind of capacity do we have, and what would your capacity be, and what kind of growth do we have, and what kind of capacity you're gonna be starting out with, and what future growth
Here,
is gonna be available.
if I may just chime in for a moment, Jan. We're past the point of deciding whether we want growth or not. We're past the
I
point.
understand.
It's going to happen. And where we are is that, I believe Thomas said it clearly in the beginning, where if we have the capability of providing this service to developers so that they do not build their own wastewater treatment facilities on their own land, which is going to be in our ETJ. That to me is what is key. And so by us being able to
I
control that part is critical. Anyway, I would like to ask, as far as what I think our next steps would be. First of all, thank you, Thomas, and all the BVRT folks for giving this presentation and putting something hard on paper for us to begin to look at. And I think it's evident that we do need to move forward with something. And
It's not evident to me.
well, it's evident to me that we need to move forward with something, in the sense that I don't think developers putting wastewater treatment plants in neighbors' backyards is advantageous for our future. And if we don't have some option, then that's what they're going to do. And so the 2 options that we have been presented tonight, the retail franchise wastewater provider option or the wholesale wastewater treatment provider option. I would like to, I've had opportunity to know about and have my opportunity to wrap my mind around this more than just today. And so to me, based on the growth that is imminent, the wholesale wastewater treatment provider option would be what I would lean toward. It would be important for each of us as council members to sort of weigh that back and forth. And I believe the next steps, correct me if I'm wrong, Jared, would be for BVRT has already provided a sample franchise agreement to Kent, to our city attorney. And so, but the council has not, and we're not making any decisions other than just guidance tonight. But for that to begin to start the process between our city attorney and BVRT so that a hard concrete option can be presented to us that we may be able to move forward with.
So you want to know what the next steps are on each option?
No, I do not. I want to continue the process of evaluating. And basically, I would like for BVRT and for our city attorney to narrow an agreement that then would be, and maybe it's two different agreements, option A and option B, so that we as a council can evaluate it, truly look it over, come with questions based on the actual document, and make a decision as to which option we would like to move forward with.
Hey, Lisa.
So that's something that we have to do at a later time.
Correct.
Well,
And that's why I called it next steps.
Yeah, so can we kind of go
Wait
on?
a minute.
I wanna learn
Lisa,
more about
hey,
what's-
I'm sorry, Lisa,
Yes.
one thing I would add, I would like to have the city manager also involved with this process with Kent on this agreement.
To me, that's understood. That's
Okay,
understood.
I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think,
Okay.
I think we've
The ball's in
done a
our-
really, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks. I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you, I
And
know.
I haven't been to visit the plant
You need
and
to go.
I
You
would
need
like
to
to go.
It's pretty
Yeah.
important.
I'm way behind the curve.
Very
I'll
impressive.
reach out to you and we'll set up the tour.
Very impressive.
Absolutely.
And
Okay,
Sam,
I'll
too.
make sure
Sam,
I'm-
Lisa,
Absolutely.
and myself have been there. It's very impressive, I will say.
I just have one other quick question. Of all the plants that you currently maintain, do any of them drain into creeks that drain into rivers? Or is this the most unique one that you're gonna have to build now to have it to where Morrison Creek is gonna drain into our river? What other facilities do you have that have that?
Plum Creek.
Plum Creek plants drains into Plum Creek.
It goes in the
And
river.
goes right, it comes, continuing past Lockhart and down the river.
Down to the river.
Plum Creek does.
And I guess
All-
the reason why the guy was
they all-
drinking the
every-
water to say, hey, it's okay. to go in.
Every wastewater treatment plant anywhere is eventually
Go to the river.
draining down a water course to a river
I
eventually.
would like to
Marble
see
Falls
this
discharges
place
into
grow.
the Colorado River.
Yeah.
San Marcos discharges into the San Marcos River directly. So they all eventually end up in a river.
But you could capture it.
Well, and
Well,
that
that's
is,
another
that's a
question. That's
huge
another
component
question.
is
I would-
absolutely
The
reuse.
recycle, and now y'all started, have y'all started, y'all just
Yeah.
started the recycling process,
Yeah,
right?
We're not
yeah,
gonna make
concrete,
any
yeah,
money
just
off
brought-
of it.
or they're extending the
Other
line
than
to the
franchise.
concrete plant there that'll take
You
that,
know, we have these
be
sections
100%
we need to-
reuse instead of bottle.
So just so everyone understands, intent is for 100% of the water that goes in the waste stream that goes into these facilities to be recovered and to be able to be reused. And if that's
Yeah.
going into the landscaping of the new neighborhoods, their parks, city
Right.
parks, at the Plum Creek facility there in Hewlin, the utility district is about to build a pipeline to one of their biggest customers, which is the concrete plant that's building the slabs for all these new homes. And they're gonna convert that from potable water to full reuse water. That's the long-term plan, is that water resources are so precious. It's so expensive to bring them in, and it's just further and further away that we have to do that, that we need to recover all of that for just the sake of our environment and our economic impact to future citizens.
And that's where we need the city as a partner to have in the subdivision ordinance that the developers are required to install reuse lines
Yes.
so that the infrastructure is put around when they put the pipes in the ground.
Yeah, the purple pipe and all.
Yeah, put the purple pipe in the ground.
And we know
And the
who's coming
developers will
in
do it.
and,
The-
you know, and
the-
who's
what's-
running it.
Yeah, I've been involved with HK, and I've been involved with Cherryville, and one of the negotiating points when it went to, it was settled out of the court, is reuse. And the whole thing, if you reuse it, it never goes into the river. So it's not an issue. And if you do reuse the water, you're going to a 552.5 to be able to reuse it. So I think, is there any money into that? I mean, have y'all known?
Certainly,
Could
because
you
it's a
sell that
resource.
water? Like, that could be a thing for the city or us, could just sell the water to
Certainly.
developers that want to put a golf course in.
Yeah.
And let me be clear, where we are in the facility that we currently have, we cannot do that. And we certainly will not be able to do anything like that if we do not have an opportunity for developers to hook up and flush a commode in the first place.
Well, one of San Marcos's biggest customers of their reuse is Marcus Marietta.
And the Kissing Tree.
And Kissing Tree has
And
it in
and the
the
power
golf course,
plant, and the
The
power
power
plant.
plant, I mean, yeah, and so that is absolutely a revenue stream that gets generated from that reuse. It doesn't just have to go to landscaping and things in neighborhoods. Industrial facilities can use it for cooling, I mean, you can use
The
that.
volunteer fire department use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for their trunk.
Well,
Okay.
Their
I guess
tanker
I'm
trucks.
talking
I don't
talking
know.
too much, but
Yeah, I know.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi. No, this is Sonia.
Oh, Sonia, you haven't spoken.
Hey, she's
You haven't
back.
spoken all night. You have the floor. You got our full attention, Sonia. Go right ahead.
So yes, I've been listening in. Sorry, I came in late. I've been listening to the presentation. So I just wanted to ask, just with looking and doing research. So actually, is it the Texas Water Service? So it's a partnership with BVRT, correct?
Texas
And
Water
it's
Service.
I'm sorry,
Texas
what?
Water Texas Water Service Company is an investor, the largest investor in BVRT.
BVRT is
Texas
a privately held, investor-owned utility company. Texas Water Service is the largest investor in BVRT.
okay. And then also with it's like also with the California Water, correct?
Cal Water is the largest investor in Texas water supply, is that?
Yeah, Cal Water owns Texas Water Service Company. Cal Water is the third largest publicly traded utility company in the country. So what we're trying to convey there is this is a real entity. It's an entity with a century plus of experience in the water and wastewater industry backing it. So it's not a fly by night. It's a real long-term partner for the city.
Okay, and then, so same thing like with Lisa, I mean, I would like to just have a little bit more time to research it, and,
Yes.
read it, but thank you for the presentation. I wanted to let you know that I'm here and I'm listening.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, we do need to move on, but we
Absolutely.
really
We
do.
will
We're
circle back
very,
to Ms. Wymore
Thank you.
and Jared, and we will.
yeah,
be sure to
so
follow up. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Thomas.
Sure got everything?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Is that everybody's cards?
These are my cards that I can give you.
Oh, okay,
I
good.
can get you in touch with anybody
Appreciate it.
else.
Thanks.
So reach out if you have any questions.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't believe we have any public comments.
If he leaves, we may lose our form.
Oh, we gotta wait.
It's okay to leave as long as that he has permission from the.
We don't have a quorum in this.
Oh,
Take a
We have
5-minute
to wait
recess.
until he comes back.
okay.
We're going to stand in recess for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Let's stay.
5-minute recess.
Okay.
Uh,
Here, I'm gonna pass behind you.
Yes.
36.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
Wrap my head around this shit, so, and I know Lisa and Mike and you probably too are more well informed because y'all have been able to see the facility.
Yeah.
You know, back and-
We're meeting, we'll go over that.
Yeah, come on, we shouldn't be here for.
That's a good presentation. Okay. I won't say.
Okay, we now have a quorum and we're ready to resume.
You want to take roll?
Take roll.
Yeah. Take roll after, just make sure we have.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the roll again. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos.
She's muted.
Oh, she's muted.
Okay, there she goes.
Councilmember Bunker.
Here,
Councilmember Shell Allen.
Here.
Councilmember McLeod.
Here.
Councilmember Clinton.
Here.
And I am Mayor Glaze, so we're all here. Okay, so we'll just go into, I had a few comments. The road on Lockhart Street has been put out a few more weeks. We don't have any public comment. It's gonna be done in December. We have enlisted the help of Commissioner Ed Theriot. And so he has also talked to Donald Leclerc and he has promised us he will get to it in December. I don't have a date though. So we've been communicating with him. The other thing that I think you might find interesting is I had contacted Commissioner Theriot asking about a light to be put at 1979 and Highway 80. And they've done a study and said that that area cannot have a light at this time. But where they are gonna put some flashing lights and stuff is at Quail Run in Highway 80. So there must be people who have approached Commissioner Theriot because he asked TxDOT to put some kind of warning signals and stuff there. In fact, the lady that I had talked to is Diana Schultz from TxDOT, and she said Commissioner Theriot had brought it up to me and I had traffic look at it. Since it met warrants for homes, some safety funding, it was submitted and approved. So they're gonna put some flashing lights and things there.
Is there any way, I think we talked about this before, is there any way they can put a turn lane on Quail Run? A separate.
On Quail Run,
A turn lane on 80 going on the Quail Run.
there's already a turn lane
I
there.
believe we broached that subject with TxDOT under former Mayor Devaney. And they were open to it, but they're not open to paying for it. And it'd be some, basically, if we had money to put up for that, we could probably put it a turn lane. But without it, we, get in line on getting that road expansion.
Or
Who knows if that ever happens?
yeah.
There might be some road expansion on Highway 80. It's still just a great big huge question mark. Because we've been talking to Campo and stuff, and they're doing a lot of studies and they have talked about possibly widening Highway 80.
Or I know expert, the common sense, and I mean, why can't they just go back to a 4-lane in that section of road and get away from that center lane because they all pass in that center lane. That's a death intersection.
I
Man.
remember
It's
when we
bad.
were asking them to put in that passing lane like that, or I mean that lane, we were told it might not do what you think it's gonna do. And that's kind of what happened. It didn't solve the problem of people getting rear-ended and stuff. So we're gonna meet with Ed Theriot on Monday, so we'll ask him any questions you want us to ask him. Okay, so that's what's gonna go on as far as TxDOT. The other comment was, they kind of said the same thing about the light at 1979 and Highway 80. It's 22,500 approximately. So they'll let us do it if we want to pay for it.
Oh, wow. So, but is this gonna be a blinking yellow light or is it gonna be a quail?
I'm not really clear on exactly what it is, but it's something to warn people that people are turning there.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so moving on to Santa. I've been working with Carol Devaney, and she has put together this flyer, and the city have copied it, and it's going out in the utility bill. So we have given you each a copy so that you're not caught unawares. Santa is going out in the fire truck to the neighborhoods, and then he'll be coming back downtown.
Something that can be emailed to us since we're,
Yeah,
since
we could, yeah, I could email it to everyone.
that'd be great.
Santa's route.
So there's Santa's route. So they are gonna have, the library is gonna have hot chocolate, hot spiced wine and popcorn for donation on, just right outside the library door. I believe she said something about them setting up a little thing where Santa might be behind the fence or something, but not where the children and then Santa really touch or anything, because we're trying to, no sitting in the
Yeah.
laps. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So we're going forward with that. So that's all I have to really say.
Can you reflect slightly about other streets, about the black asphalt that's been going on?
We've been filling a lot of potholes.
Yeah.
We've been buying trailer loads of asphalt. And it has to all be done in the same day. So Tommy Fudge goes and he gets this load of asphalt, and then he and his children go around town and try and find the biggest potholes. Well, that's not exactly true. We do go and look and decide which potholes to fill. And we've been doing different areas of town. So we did
haven't
Bacchus
circled
Street. No, I haven't gone and circled them. We did do 3 loads of road base on Bacchus Street because the holes over there were so deep that somebody could go to China.
Yeah.
On Bacchus Street,
Oh.
That is something.
Mayor,
Bacchus Street.
I hate to do it to you, but I have to call Blue Bond Electric. I don't have any power. They just put a new socket, a new meter.
If you leave, we don't have a quorum. We're done.
Oh. What, are they there at your house right now?
No, I didn't call Blue Bonnet. Can,
Oh.
it was a good time to do, can I leave to, we had vote on anything? It won't take long.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
The
lose.
meeting will end.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we wouldn't have a
Right.
quorum.
Can we not finish reports? Can we not finish reports while he makes that phone call?
Yeah.
Is that out of line?
Yeah.
I think he can't leave.
Yeah. Let's keep going. Let's go. Just
Keep
make
the
it fun.
door. Oh.
Just don't leave the room, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Somebody, you asked me a
That's
question.
the street, yeah. you've
Oh, the
been putting
street.
putting
Okay,
it
so
in the
we
street.
did 3 loads of, since that's a gravel road already, we didn't do asphalt over there. We did road
Oh.
fill,
Road base.
road base. Until Tommy's arms were about to drop off.
Okay.
And then he
Poor guy.
also, we're on our 3rd load of asphalt, just trying to fill as many potholes all over town that we can. Tomorrow, we're gonna be in, all of a sudden, I forgot the name of that road. The trailer park,
Oh, Skyview.
Skyview, we're gonna be on Skyview. And then we're gonna
That's
come
more
and
like
try and fill some more on Northwest River Road.
Mayor, can we get a, either a spreadsheet or a hard copy report via email, based on the streets you've already filled potholes are on and what your next projection is gonna be, so that when residents call us and say, hey, when are the potholes gonna be filled on my street, we have the ability to at least maybe kind of know some type of answer. Is that an option?
Sure.
Yeah, you can at least
Yeah,
figure out what's
I
been
can fill
done.
out something, and let you
That
know
would be
what we've done.
fantastic. Because they'll ask, and if it's not written down and part of a record in our meetings, then it turns into a bunch of he said, she said, he said, she said, and I don't remember this. And,
Sure,
um,
I'll be
it's,
happy to do that.
that'd be great.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have to report. Jared?
The two big things, we've been trying to get the ordinances and resolutions that we've passed in the last year updated on our website. You'll notice that 2021 has had substantial updates going back on our recently passed ordinances and resolutions. So thanks Sylvia for getting that done. And then the other thing I want to quickly touch on is I was a little delayed in posting not as much delayed, in posting the chief police vacancy announcement, but it is out now. It's on LinkedIn, governmentjobs.com, Indeed, our website, Texas Municipal League, Oklahoma Municipal League, Louisiana, New Mexico. They don't have outside state postings available, but it's everywhere. We've received probably about 5 or 6 in the last few days responses. So it's getting a good awareness, at least some traffic on it. So that's good news. And then what? Huh?
One from Oklahoma?
Yeah, we posted one in Oklahoma.
No, I said, have you gotten responses from Oklahoma?
I don't know. Well, I haven't checked that part out yet, but it'll be interesting. Basically, it's cast a wide net, as we previously talked about. So on our schedule, we are a few weeks behind. So some of the risk adjusted buffers that were built in around the holidays and what have you, we'll probably end up filling those with some effort to get us back on schedule. So, but I wanted council to know that is out and it is getting some responses, and we'll be working over the next number of weeks to sort through all that. And so maybe one of our future agenda items for December, that first meeting, or I think probably only one meeting in December, might be a discussion, possibly action on, setting up, a review committee or whatever. I know that was a point of discussion when we were going through that process before. So I want to give you some awareness on that and not drop the ball on it.
I had a question about that then. Does that include future discussions, as you mentioned about, say, the supplemental use table? Is that a portion of, did we go through the whole supplemental use table in regards to the neighborhoods and the zoning?
Oh,
the use table.
So this is the chief of police. The zoning issue, I think what we're talking about, the zoning of
Ordinances
the,
and zone, yes.
on the website. So what we posted on the website were those things that the city council has already voted on, approved, and passed. Such as like the wastewater discharge limit change to reduce the phosphorus limits. The zoning workshop, last one we held was, I think, March. And so it's been some time. I think after the holidays, we'll have a chance to bring that back up. It's probably worth going into another Saturday workshop in January at some point to dust that off. But I think there's some outs. We had questions we had, one of them, alcohol sales in the city. What was the vote on that? What was so we've gotten some more information on that. And then I think we've seen some new.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, well, it's not, frankly, it wasn't an ordinance, it was a vote, and it wasn't a vote by the city, it was a vote in the county, and it got a little confusing there. To your point, though, where we at with the zoning update is we'll probably have another workshop, possibly 2, before we're ready to present it to the public as a zoning change. So we have.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, and then also later, we talked about a stop sign that was down, and we need to talk in the future about, I think we need to have a list of, say, this is the electrician we would call, this would be the plumber, this would be the guy that would fix the signs. and-
Yeah, so for,
and all that.
for stop signs, we've been using the last couple of stop signs that have been knocked down. We have changed the design of how we're installing stop signs
Mm.
to have a breakaway feature at the base. So they're knocked over, they can be put back in.
Mm.
This one that was knocked over will be, I think, down by Skull Bridge. We've had a couple that got knocked over. We use that
That was
design.
But
I think trucks have knocked it
Oh,
over in the
okay.
past. So on those, Tommy Futch, he's installed the last couple. He's installing this next one.
Mhm.
He's gone through and made the orders, and we should probably have it up in the next week or so.
I just approved a sign for Crockett Street today. I don't know
Yep.
if it was the right format or anything. I just approved the dollars.
I think that was the one that we got a request for on
Like
Facebook.
$150. Gary.
Oh,
Yeah.
that seems reasonable. Yeah.
I could not get.
So that's all I have for my administrator's report, subject to questions.
I tried the one, it just said dollars.
Okay,
Finances.
financial report.
So, this is a report for the first month of the fiscal year, October. You see our bank balances as of today. I did the call. General fund has a little bit of money in it. It's the property taxes have started to come in. $5,000 and $10,000 at a time. Excuse me?
They're late this year.
are they?
They got the box. Yeah, they're
Usually
definitely
we have
late.
most of our taxes in by now, right?
We didn't even get our bills. If you notice, we didn't get our bills till almost the end of the month.
Yeah, and Hayes County didn't mail theirs
The
till
tax
last
bill?
week.
Yeah, I got my Hayes County last week.
So anyway, the money is starting to flow.
Wow.
You can see accounts like the street fund with $4 in it. It's like we're
Yeah.
a little low on cash, waiting for it to start flowing in,
Uh-huh.
but now we'll be able to transfer we'll be able to transfer some money in there. You see the utility fund has plenty of money. We still got all that money in that community development fund from a recent grant, and it's putting our balance over 250,000 at First Lockhart.
So
I need
you
to
like keeping
figure out-
that under?
I need to figure out what to do with that. I mean, I guess I can put it down here in PFIA fund. That fund's is in the general account, is in the general fund. I just need to think through how to get that 150,000 out of our First Lockhart Bank, because it doesn't look like we're spending it anytime soon.
Oh, the community development.
Yeah, probably, maybe
Well,
PFIA.
are we not allowed to have a certain amount of money? in it?
250,
Is the most we can have?
yeah, in a bank.
That's
Oh,
it, federally insured amount.
oh, I see.
So, if you scroll up a little bit, some of these PFIA funds, I guess,
Most
really
of us
are.
don't know
Are
that.
they at a different bank?
They're actually at a, tax pool investment fund. It's
Oh,
something
okay.
that's at the state level.
Right, okay.
But you see, I've got utility funds in there. I've got hotel tax fund in there. I should be able to move that down into that account without much trouble.
Do you have any trouble taking it from the fund and putting it back in?
No,
Oh.
it's overnight.
Okay,
The money can be.
there's no penalty.
No. So I guess there's your PFIA fund, yeah, also the emergency fund, that has stayed the same. Generally, about this time of year, we transfer some money to that emergency fund. I think it's in the budget, $7,000.
Yeah, probably once we start seeing the other item tonight was the that surplus from the leftover budget, moving it.
Uh-huh.
I think we probably wait on that and wait on some of those things until
Yeah,
our
And that's fine.
property taxes come in.
Yeah, we'd have to have that okay by the
After the
council,
first,
but
after the first of the year. A lot of people pay their taxes like the last week of the year. And then it
oh,
takes a week or two to come to us.
let's keep
Okay,
it
and then you
in.
see the long-term capital fund still has $95,000 in it after paying for the police car. And there's our amount due to comptroller. That's the same as it was last month. We haven't gotten our
money for sales tax yet this month.
So the total amount of money that it,
Well, I noticed
people
sales-
say we're underwater or vice, we're not.
Yeah.
We have-
Cash up.
We have all this we have, I don't know, what, 700,000?
That's-
It goes anywhere from $700,000 to $900,000.
Yeah. We're not,
We're not broke.
We're not cash broke the way
Yeah.
it's been sometimes.
Yeah, I remember when I first started talking about taking this job, my wife's hairdresser says, "Isn't that city bankrupt?"
we're not
We
bankrupt.
came-
We are
came
s-
real close.
We are solvent.
Yeah.
Difference a few years.
Yeah, okay, so there's your first page of the state of things today. Then we can go on to the general fund budget report. We're just 1 month in, so the numbers are real small. You see we brought in $22,000 worth of revenue, only about 4% so far. The personnel section, we're about 8% into the year, and you see personnel expenses are running right at about 8%. Where it says total 6,000 personnel.
I don't have that one.
Operating
Yeah.
expenses are at 7%. The only one that's really high is, see that one that's 25.7, property and liability insurance, that's paid quarterly. So
Which one, where are we?
that's on line 6550. And we're in the general fund budget report.
Oh.
So
So you're looking at the percentage.
I like to look at the percentage because the numbers stack up year to date. And so you can't really look at a monthly number because we don't spread our budget
Yeah.
monthly.
So our actually monthly total right now is 23 and change, right?
That's what we brought in.
Right. Oh, that's what we've brought in.
Um,
I'm still in trouble. And then 9,000, what's this?
And then as we go on down. There's our street repair. I've actually been having to spend some of this
What
money
number is
out of
that?
General fund
Yeah.
for all this stuff that Tommy's been doing.
Where's the street repair?
That's on line 8080. It's near the bottom of page 1 of that report.
80, 70, 88, okay.
So that's what's been spent
So
Through-
we've spent
through
Uh,
October.
13.
No, 13's the
Remaining budget.
remaining budget.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what we still have left?
Yeah.
Oh,
We spent 2 and we probably spent that much more in November.
Yeah.
There was $1,000 check you signed tonight.
yeah,
So,
Hey, you said I wasn't spending
yeah.
yeah. No,
That's
we
what
need
it's
it.
for. Anyway, you see at the bottom net income, that actually shows a loss. We spent more than we brought in. That's common in October.
So the library already
Yeah,
got
the
their
15.
money?
No.
Oh, that's
They're gonna
zero.
come next month and do a report.
This first column, that's where, how much we
We only do it twice
Oh,
a
I
year.
in a raw value.
I see.
Is this column? Okay. So
I have a
that's-
question.
Yes.
I just wanted to know, like, is it already showing on there for our previous police chief where the deduction was made as far as payroll and what was owed?
We paid him last fiscal year. That was, wasn't he terminated about the 20,
July 7th.
was it July? Anyway, that all happened last year.
So that's all done.
Well, put it this way, all that was owed him in payroll was paid last year. He had some, I forget what we paid him, unused sick pay or
Yeah.
vacation,
Vacation and comp time.
comp time. We paid him all of that in last year.
And all that.
That was probably in, well, this is October, right? No,
Right,
this
so it
is-
would have been,
this
in
is still
September
October.
or August even.
Oh, okay.
I forget which month.
Okay, we can go.
I think
back
it
and look at
was-
that.
In August, wasn't it?
The months have slipped by. I just
Last-
know that
Last year.
It's not in this budget. It's not in these numbers. It's closed into last year.
Can you go to the top of that page? Because we're looking, so this is the end of the fiscal year,
No.
This is the
so,
beginning.
This is the beginning, the very first month.
oh.
That's why the numbers are really
So, because I
small.
was looking at the sales tax, for some reason, this, yeah, I thought, so October 1st is the beginning of our fiscal year.
Yes.
Yes.
And the sales tax numbers are still big from, sales tax revenues, they lag 60 days.
Uh-huh.
So that's sales tax money from August, I guess, when the river was full of tubers and whatever.
So we've gotten $10,000 just for the beginning of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
For the first month.
Perfect.
And that's the reason he likes to look at the percentages, because that has to do with our actual
So I'll
budget.
have him explain that to me later.
Yeah.
On the sales tax though, I mean, do you know all the businesses in town that contribute to the sales tax? Like that appliance place across from Sack and Pack where they have all those stoves and refrigerators sitting out on the street? I mean, do we know?
There are certain data that can be gained at like the mayor level that I can't see. They'll let me know who the taxpayers are. They won't let me know how much each of them pay. But y'all can request that, because I've tried to get it before and they showed me that it's got to be, the mayor or pro tem or something.
Elected official.
Can you say who that is? Are you talking about specifically contacting the comptroller's office?
Yes. Yeah, it comes from the comptroller. It's kind of like a public records request of them.
But I mean, as a city, do we reach out to someone, say if they're selling ice, shaved ice in a building? I mean, you would think that they would possibly charge sales tax and then we would collect
Yeah.
something? I mean, we need to know these
prepared
things.
food is subject to sales tax.
Okay, so you would
But
hope
we
that,
don't have an enforcement mechanism to stop and say, hey, Mr.
We have to
Shaved
have
Ice
sales tax.
person, show me your sales tax permit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we could be a.
I mean,
vigilantes
you could
and
go
do
to
that,
every
but-
garage sale that happens in town.
Well, even garage sales are legal once or twice a year.
without.
There's like a dollar
Yeah.
value involved.
Anyway,
Yeah, no, I was just curious if you think that, we need to know if all the businesses are contributing to our sales tax base. Yeah, okay. I mean, I would be curious just to have a list, because sometimes I get asked, well, you've got a restaurant, you've got 2 Sack and Packs, you've got Dollar General, and-
Those all,
Now we
those are
know.
probably gonna be your biggest contributors, but
right.
you'd be surprised. A lot of the money comes from people ordering off Amazon because it's delivered to their home here. And,
Actual- the
I've
city
seen-
gets-
yeah, I've seen the list and all of these vendors, and I'm like, these places are all at the outlet mall. They're not here. And then I realized it's
It's Amazon.
people going to the outlet mall and they don't have what they have in stock and they mail order it
Yeah.
to here and we get the tax, or at least our part. So, and I think that that's what helped drive a lot of the revenue last year was all of this delivery that people did during COVID.
And I've been curious. I personally have groceries delivered from Walmart, and I've been curious if San Marcos gets that sales tax or if we do.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to know, I mean, as I understand it, we do. Now,
Okay.
happening right, I'm not sure.
Oh, what was the question?
Would the comptroller be able to answer that question? The question was, Jan, or the statement was that I personally order groceries from Walmart and have them delivered to my house. And so if I go into the store, any sales tax that I pay goes to San Marcos. But a question that I've had is, when it gets delivered to my door, does the sales tax still go to San Marcos or do we get it?
I think we get it, but, we'd have to pull a report
to find out for sure.
And that would be via the comptroller.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do have a list of all of the taxpayers, not so much for revenue purposes, but to let us know who's delinquent. And Sylvia comes to me at election time and says, do any of our candidates own businesses that are not current on their taxes? And I can go to that list and
Find out.
see it and tell her. So, anyway, and I can also tell which businesses are in trouble and, whisper in the mayor's ear, you may want to make sure this or that. Maybe I shouldn't, but I
You
see.
should. You should.
I see that, as well, just from that delinquency list. Okay, I guess if there's not any more questions on that report, the next report just shows, our bills and checks written, for the month. That biggest one there, that's the quarterly remittance to the comptroller for the traffic, ticket, hanging companies, the auditor.
On Reuben Brooks, I mean, I noticed today that the garbage can was not pulled out. This is just a minor thing. He usually pulls it out on Tuesday, but it wasn't done today, so.
He was here Monday.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm just, yeah, so whatever date that was.
He's really good about not charging for it if he doesn't do it.
Okay. So I don't mind doing it if I don't see it out, so.
Okay, here's your utility fund. Remember the 8% number? Looks like we've billed about 8% of our budget for the first month. We've had expenses of about 8%, so that one's in the black. And by the way, Jared, if you go back, the budget column on these reports, I took off the website. You see that balance, but that whatever's on the website says draft real big across it.
Yeah, so I wanted to get the ordinance resolution that passed the budget gets included with the final budget until that got scanned in.
Yeah.
I couldn't put the documents together to replace it with the
So
final.
all that to say, I think these are the final numbers. I think in the end, the budget passed as you presented it.
Yeah.
But it did say draft today. Okay, utility funds, here's who we wrote checks to. And there's some pretty big checks to Pete, but I think those are in November.
Yeah, I think so.
And even one tonight. So there's your special revenue funds for the month. So you can see your street and road sales tax money is already coming in above plan. Your hotel money is coming in faster than expected, and we're spending none of it. $8,000 so far, special revenue funds. And I don't think there is a community development report. There was no activity on that one. So I believe that is all of them.
That's it. Yep.
Well, do we have didn't we buy some signs or something?
No, what would
You have advertising, art and signage.
Yeah, so in the past, I had asked for approval from city council to establish a 1-year lease with the billboard company out by the cemetery on Highway 80 to put a advertisement for the city on there. Shortly after that was approved, another entity put their own billboard sign. It's a 2-stack,
Oh, okay.
and it had some material on it that I didn't think the city
Right.
wanted to be associated with. So I held off, informed council about it. There's consensus that we did the right thing by holding off. Yeah, it's true. It's kind of faded out.
Can we talk about this a little bit or not?
I think for a future agenda item, we have something on the hotel tax workshop.
Okay, all right.
I'll let it go.
Okay, that's all I think.
Thank you, Dwayne.
I probably talked enough tonight anyway.
Okay. Just to mention, I thought the police report was just supposed to be on the first meeting of the month. So I told him he didn't have to come tonight if he didn't need to. So that's why there is no police report tonight.
It can be however council and or you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that's the way it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the first one.
Usually it's a month thing that he does, so,
Okay.
and he already did it at the end of the month.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
so
He had the last
you're
meeting.
fine.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to item number 6, consent items, accounts payable in the minutes. If you notice in the minutes, they're from January 19th, and it's basically one portion that I think she was asked to correct, and it's on page 2, and it starts, a new district could be a possibility. It's that paragraph right in the middle of the page that was corrected.
This is October 19th.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's,
The one we have is January.
I got January.
or January 19th,
Yes.
I'm sorry. What did I say?
Yeah, and the.
January 19th.
Did Lisa and Sonia get that?
I don't even have them.
Yeah, they
I'm looking at my email.
Oh, they did get
Yeah, but-
emailed?
Was it emailed?
No,
She emailed the other day.
I
Did
didn't,
you include this?
it wasn't included in, here, I've got the email right here. It
You
was
do have
just
an email?
I did not get it. I have her email with just the agenda is on it.
Correct. So
Yeah.
we did not get it via email.
No, it did not, so,
Well, we could put these on the next meeting.
well, we have a quorum that we could vote on.
Yes.
I said, let's go ahead and do the consent items.
I'll make a motion that we accept the accounts payable as presented and that we table the minutes from January the 19th.
We have enough for a quorum to accept it.
Well, but they haven't seen it, is what she's saying. So she's making a motion that we accept
Wow. Okay.
the accounts payable, but table
There was
the
only one
minutes.
word that was changed.
That's just
Oh,
procedure.
what is that?
So to finish the motion to table the January 19th meeting minutes so that they can be emailed to the council for the next meeting.
I second that.
Okay,
I'll
so there's been a
second.
motion. There's been a motion and a second. Sorry, Sonia, Mike seconded it first.
Okay,
So is there any more discussion? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Okay.
Sonia? Is there an aye or a nay?
aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. We will approve the accounts payable and table the minutes until everybody has time to see them. Okay, moving on to new business, utility rates. We've had a lot of discussion in the office about this.
Yeah, so I don't have anything to present tonight. So I want to describe I might reference some of our ordinances as the discussion goes. I want to describe the issue that's happened. So we adjusted rates at the change over the fiscal year. At the same time, we adjusted our rates. We also updated our usage information, and that classified customers, wastewater customers, as different usage categories based on their consumption. That methodology is described in our ordinance, rate setting ordinance for wastewater services, which describes that the rate will be, the usage amounts are based off of the water consumption in the months of December, January, and February. we received a number of complaints regarding the usage data that the city applied when we adjusted our rate structures and set billing for the year. Some of those complaints have talked about whether we have complied with that ordinance or not. That describes using usage from December, January, February. We used, in last year as an example, from nearest I can tell, we used the data, from the usage data that was in the water department's December 1st, January 1st, and February 1st to set last year's usage. We use the same procedure again this year. What we've discovered as we researched the issues behind the complaints, that using the December 1st bill from the water usage rate, that was a usage amount that was in the December 1st bill from the water company, that usage is actually from a meter reading taken on November 15th or thereabout. From usage from October 15th thereabout to November 15th thereabout.
Oh,
Follow on to the next month is from November 15th to December 15th. Follow on from there is December 15th, January 15th, and so on. So as we apply our ordinance talks about using a usage for single months, December, January, and February. Unfortunately, the usage data that's collected by the water company does not match that structure because the usage for the month of December is actually split across two bills. And there's no real way to define what within that where, you know, you're combine the two bills and throw two of that out, would you take half of each on? It gets real complicated. So we did our best judgment and applied the usage for the bill that was on December 1st. So the complaint that we received and the number of complaints that we received that we're using the wrong usage data that's out of compliance with the ordinance may have some merit to it, but we're applying it the best we can. The other issue that we're facing is when it gets to the February rates, there was not a meter reading taken on February 15th because that morning we were hit with a significant snowstorm. So there's no meter readings on the February 15th. So there's no usage data in the March bill. Fall from that, there was a number of, you know, water service issues. And a reading was not taken in March 15th for the April bill. And so if to capture any data, usage data, readings essentially ended or they don't exist from January 15th until March 15th. Basically from the
reading.
there was no water usage readings taken between January 15th and March 15th.
so does that just mean everybody gets a break?
Well, it means we have somewhat of a decision to make. Or at least I want to present the issue as a possible, does city council want to make a decision on this? So where we have applied the ordinance to our best of our ability, I think we've done so pretty close to the intent. The question becomes whether we want to look at that letter of that law and say using the December 1st bill takes a usage from a month outside of December and therefore it should be thrown out. We can do that. We throw out the December 1st bill, we go to the January 1st bill, which has usage from December 15th or November 15th to December 15th. If we're okay with that, I mean, technically it has usage prior to December. In an extreme case, you could throw up that January 1st bill. When it gets to the February bill, you finally fully into the month of December, fully within that 3-month window we describe in our ordinance. But after that period of time, after the December 15th to January 15th, there are no more meter readings taken.
That was just for last year, this year, right?
That was just for this last year because of the snowstorm and the effects there.
Right.
If we have set the usage, we have set the rates. At some point, if we change the usage data for our customers, there will be losers and there will be winners when we do that. Some people will win if they'll make out better if we toss December. Some people, if we say we toss the whole year and go back to last year's usage and don't adjust anybody's usage, some people may have been a concert effort to limit their consumption and to get a better rate. And so this year's usage category, their billing rate is better than this year than it was last year. So whatever decision is made that deviates from what we've done, there will be a segment of customers who benefit, a segment of customers who will not. To prevent that, you could say, all right, well, everybody gets whatever your best outcome is. If last year's data is better than this year's data, then we'll give you the benefit, we'll use last year's data. If this year's data is better, we'll use this year's data. If you want to throw out December, we'll throw out December.
Yeah.
There's some choices. City council can kind of choose whatever it wants on this one.
Can or cannot?
But as we layer complexity, it becomes more and more difficult considering that bills go out and, well, tomorrow is the only full working day that we have to get the bills out. So we're at least at this point, not fully, but almost committed to proceeding with another month of billing that goes out on these rates that we established in October, based on the usage we have. If that goes out and then we make changes, instead of having 1 month to maybe go back and correct, or maybe we don't go back and correct it, but the further we get into the year, and if you want to post-date actions and start offering refunds, the more complicated that becomes. So this is a mess in terms of we've received some complaints. They do have some level of merit. The storm, though, has created some controversies. However, I think the application that the city has taken to this point follows what we did last year, and I think it's a reasonable approach in trying to apply that ordinance where we use the December 1st, January 1st, and February 1st billing. And whether that is perfectly aligned to our ordinance is one thing. However, our ordinance is out of whack and out of sync from how the water company captures usage data.
Does the ordinance use the word, does the ordinance use the word billing or usage?
Here, I figured that would come up. I'll pull it up real quick. While I pull that up real quick, Jan, you had a question?
No,
All right. And I'll share screens.
Yeah, because if you're saying that you're including the last month to evaluate the usage and you're extending that in through March, then I would think that people might not like that because you're evaluating 2 months of usage and compiling it into one. And so that means you use twice as much. You're evaluating more months. And I think it would be bad if some people had a break in their water pipes during the freeze, then that would be impacted.
So we've had that. So when someone tells us I've had a water pipe break, the usage data that you're using is erroneous, is skewed, or unreasonable. We reach out to the water company and confirm whether a complaint was done, and if the water company made some adjustment to their bill based off of a leak or something like that, then we would likewise make an adjustment in how we handle that. Possibly just throw out that usage month is typically how we do it.
Okay.
Can I make a question?
Yeah.
So we're not in control of when the water utility takes their meter reading.
Right.
But one thing that is beyond everyone's control is when they date and mail the bill. And to me, it seems like the only way that this is gonna keep from becoming a mess on these half months and everything is you base it on billing dates. If they mail a bill in December, okay, half of it's October and half of it's November, but it dropped in the mail in December, and if they move their reading date till the 20th the next month, well, that's their prerogative, but when it goes in the mail, it's still kind of official.
Well,
Yeah.
and I,
So
and I think a little bit the opposite in the sense of usage in general. The reason that December, January, and February were designated and or relatively standard is because those are typically your low usage months of the year. October is not a low usage month, and March is not a low usage month.
Yes, in the data that I reviewed, there is an aggregate higher level of usage up in the December 1st billing than there is in the January and February 1st billings. January and February 1st bills are pretty close. The December is higher on aggregate. Now, each customer, this is where we start. If you're throwing out months or whatever, some customers stand to win, some customers stand to lose. If they had a normal, normal-ish month between October 15th and November 15th, and their December bill wasn't all that high, but then they had a bunch of people over for Thanksgiving and they're all taking showers and different things, and boom, your water usage goes up in your February bill. Now that when you're taking an average of 2 months instead of 3 months, that higher usage month is now being skewed. So on the whole, people probably would be better off with removing the December bill, but there would still be customers that become worse off with that decision. Before I get to your question real quick, the language that was asked, what's the language that's used in the ordinance? It's it's section 50.13, schedule rates and charges. The monthly amount of wastewater discharge by a user shall be determined each year by averaging the water use at the service address over the most recent 3-month period of December, January, and February. So
But that's usage, it's not about billing.
it's about use, not about billing.
But
that
that's
means we need to request the usage from January, February, and March in order to get the usage from December,
be-
February.
It would be inexact because you're either including half of the month of November or excluding half of the month of December.
Couldn't we just put 15th and
Yeah, just
on
change the
those
ordinance.
months and say December 15th, January 15th, February 15th? Just change and use those months, but change it to the billing cycle.
In the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
you
That
say.
way, if they don't read it for a week. well,
And
So we
say
could-
that the water company's not going to change their policy, so they
Right,
have
that's
to
what I
do
was
the
saying.
bill,
I'd like to see.
So if we did that, if we went to the reading that was taken within the month, then when you get to the application of this specific year, there is not a reading for February.
Can
There's
I
no
just
reason.
make a
Wait,
suggestion?
can I speak? I've been waiting for a while. First, I want to clarify, I'm one of the 20 people that complained about my bill, just to clarify, to put it out in the open. The problem I have with it, I think what he said, it should be thrown out. Should 19 and 20, which one's the lowest, should be the one they use, because the water company, it's not the customer's fault that we didn't have water. And if you look at your bill, I went through the water company, I had 570 gallons I used in February. That's to my advantage. And I should have an advantage because I was inconvenienced by the water company by not having water and sewer for a week or whatever it was. So the water company says that it's not my fault as a customer that we had the February was a bad month. It's still in our ordinance that 500, I was billed for 570 gallons. So to say there's no usage, I was still billed for February. So my point is, I don't have a problem with the ordinance, but I'm just saying, since we had that freeze, I think it should be based that the people Either you had 19, you have a choice of using 19, or you have a choice of using 20. Whichever is the lowest, I think each customer should have that option. That's coming from a customer, not as a council person.
What do you mean by 19 and 20?
Go from the 19th consumption from the year before.
2019.
Use 2019.
Mm.
Because we had a
have a choice
consistent,
to
we had a
use
consistent
2019.
billing period. Because we had this interruption because of the freeze. And there's 20, I was one of the 20 to complain.
But you'd think if you only use 500 and something gallons during February, that would be to your advantage.
It would, but it's not. It's not. The water company explained to me they're gonna use March, which is not in our ordinance. So I'm just saying, the problem is they set these whatever you consume in the winter is set for the rest of the year. I'll tell you, my bill went up $30, okay? Like I said, it's what they have in the winter. I think that the 2021, I mean, the 2021 should be thrown out, or people have a choice of using 19 and 20. You have two choices, whatever is to your advantage as a customer, because I don't care what you say, it's not the customer's fault that they didn't have water.
Sonia, you had something to say?
Yes, ma'am. I just think that, it was something that was unprecedented, like the winter storm, and it's like nothing that nobody could predict. I mean, just as the pandemic, and it was out of our control and out of our hands. And I think in order to give us time, like to either revise our ordinance or, to figure out what is going to be the best solution, is just to go to the prior year and just go with that until we can figure out what to do.
I totally agree.
Well, just give them a choice. I say give them a choice.
Yeah, my choice or whatever.
Yeah.
Are
Or
all the old
correct,
bills
or they can use
on the paper or on
I'm
storage?
not sure how he's gonna get to do that, but he'd have to look back.
And see,
at
and I
where
think
the
that whenever you're
Figure
gonna give people choices or say, whatever your best rate is, I mean, that's still gonna be up to the, to the city. And, that's gonna be, yes, it is gonna be more work, and it is gonna be, something that you're gonna have to, to say either or. But I mean, I just think like the simplest solution would be just go to the previous year, let's fix it, and then let's get it right.
Lisa, what do you think?
Just as a strong word.
What I remember is that the water company basically, when they did not read the meters for the following month after the storm, and you got a bill for the exact same amount, it was like it was just as a wash. And so I just assumed that that's the way that the city, the accounting would handle it as well. I will say from a resident standpoint, in the last 2 years, I have become incredibly water conscious, and for the very reason of I wanted to reduce my usage so that I could reduce my bill. If I have got control over that, then I want to. And so for the first time, my bill went down only like, I don't know, $4 or something. It wasn't very much. But even though we increased the rate, my usage went down. So my bill went down by $4. So, now if it went back to the way it was, it would just go back up $4. That's not that great big of a deal. Although I sure felt satisfied and had gratification over the fact that I had reduced my usage. But now that I'm hearing that it's all skewed anyway, so who really knows? I would like to know from an accounting standpoint, basically, Dwayne, what you feel would be the most seamless way to proceed to minimize this, not including a winter storm, but just the dates and all of that, how you would like to see it laid out for the future.
Well, like I said earlier, we don't have any control over when they read their meters. And we're never gonna get this exact. And we worked with the best data that they had to give us and made the same calculations we make year in and year out. I mean, I don't see, rolling it back to what it was last year, I mean, people like you are gonna end up with a higher bill again.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
actually conserved.
Do you
And it's gonna be something else, you know?
I would be curious if I'd be curious if you could pull a report that basically showed, you know, up and down, as in people's bills have changed, increased or decreased, and I'd be curious what the ratio is.
But you don't have that much time because you got to do the billing tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not,
what's the headache that the utility clerk's gonna have to deal with?
yeah, I'm not requesting that. I'm just saying I would be curious.
Don't have a utility. clerk. Oh,
That's
Adrian? Oh.
Carmen.
Yeah, Adrian's, you know, taking the lead on this. And he did his calculations right with the data he was given.
Based on this year?
Does the old data still exist?
Yeah.
And can you put that on the bill, so you have a choice of paying this one?
Okay,
We
so,
don't want to make it, we want to, because that would disadvantage some people who may not look at their bill all the time.
okay, so
You can still do
here,
an appeal.
but here,
Bill, right.
here's what I'm thinking. And you can look at this a couple different ways. What it says is the monthly amount of wastewater discharged by a user shall be determined each year. So it's an annual obligation by averaging the water use at the address over the most recent 3-month period, December, January, and February. To have use at the address, you must have readings, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but not in February.
If you lack
Not
readings,
2020.
if you lack readings, you don't have the mechanism for use. There is no way to average the use. So the most recent use would then become the last year for which there was data.
And in the situation of this last year, the water company just gave instead of reading the meters during the month of February, they just used the exact same usage for the following bill. So I believe that's what we should do, is use the same usage. So therefore, you're averaging 3 numbers and 2 of them are the same.
That's not what they did.
What do they do?
What they did is they used for the first time, they've had the ability to do this for a while. But what they did, they didn't just use a carryover last month's. They had a computer program that spits out an algorithm that will tell them what their approximate usage was. For some people, they acknowledge this, general manager over there acknowledged this. For some people, that hurt them. For some people, it benefited them. The computerized estimate for February and for March.
What's the manpower cost to the city to parse out what is favorable versus not favorable for every resident?
It would probably take us about 2 days. And so basically, what that would do, in effect, it would delay our billing by, if our bills go out on December, or on the 18th, we would need at least through the 18th to do the calculations. Probably if we delayed the billing to go out till the 22nd, that Monday, we would probably have enough time to give the most advantageous usage to each customer based off of last year versus this year, and proceed from there. But we still, even last year, we still had the issue of use the December 1st billing. which had usage from October to November.
Well, eventually we need to change the wording of the
Okay.
ordinance.
The December
I think.
1st.
Our agenda item,
2 months or?
our agenda item is exceedingly vague. And so I would like to know what exactly are you wanting from this council when our agenda item says discussion and action on utility rates? What are you wanting from us?
That no action is an action. So the city council could say, we don't want to take any action on this issue. The billing rate has been set and we're going to proceed with that. And if people have complaints, they can file a complaint and we'll adjudicate it as we do any other billing dispute. That's an option. That's course of action 1. Course of action 2, what seems to have some level of consensus, is to use what's the most advantageous usage data between last year and this year, and providing that setting that each customer according to what's better between last year and this year. I think those are those are the 2 options we're facing.
And if you have a problem with it, then you can file an issue, right? And try to work it out with the city or the utility.
And the other thing is this agenda mentions rates, and there's no question about the rates. It's the usage.
Yes.
Again, I'll state, I'm the one that complained. I'm just saying is we all got paid, we all had to pay the bill for February. And at that point, the Martindale water supply did not use as much water because we didn't have water. And the city did not have any wastewater because we had no water in the house. And I'm just saying, to be fair, I think, like, that's what I'm saying, as a customer, that there should be 2 options, that people should get a choice of the previous year or this one because of February.
Okay.
I think the ordinance is fine like it is, but that February is and then Farmville told me they're gonna use March instead of, we're just gonna charge you for the water consumption in March, forget February. And then you start getting into the landscape, if you're landscaping, then you start using landscaping water, whatever. I'm just saying, I think it needs to be fair, it needs to be, I think, an option for one or two.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that, based on the usage and the billing that's been discussed, that our billing is delayed for this month until the 22nd to enable staff to determine the best rate option for our customers for this upcoming year.
I second that.
And then do
So
what with it?
this is not part of my motion, but I'm gonna add to it. It's not about, this is not a situation where customers get to quote, choose what they want. What I'm making the motion for is for staff to do the calculations and have to delay billing in order to give our customers the best rate based on last year and this year. And we just move forward because we've just increased our rates. And, wastewater is going to continue to be obviously an expense and an issue. And so there's my motion. That's it. And
Lisa.
Yes, ma'am.
Lisa,
Yes, ma'am.
can I also, I would like for you to add to that motion to approve overtime on Fridays for employees if they need to do and to complete this additional workload.
Kent, is that something that I can do? I guess I can, even though it's not on the agenda. Yes, to amend, Sylvia, to amend that motion to compensate staff for additional time worked
Okay, so
to complete this action.
if I may restate it for the record as I heard it.
Thank you.
To move the billing date from November 18th to November 22nd, authorize the use of overtime for city staff to assess the optimal usage per customer and set billing for for the remaining fiscal year based on that optimal usage, water use data.
Correct.
Okay.
This is for the. range of
Okay,
20
we have the
20,
motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
I just have a question. Because of the way the ordinance is written, that just says the 3-month period, December, January, and February, do we eventually need to change the wording of the ordinance to reflect the dates that are given to us by the water company? Are we going to run into this problem every single year as a result of the way this is worded because of the billing cycles?
Yes, what we can do, we
December
can
dates to
do
be
is we can put that on a future agenda item. I'll come up with some language with Dwayne on what that should read for the future.
Okay, I'd like to see that ordinance change, because if we're spending this much time on it, I
Right.
don't want us to see us
Okay,
do this every year.
you write it down as a future item.
My vote's a yes.
Okay, we haven't called a vote yet. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Let's take individual votes. Mike,
I say yes.
Jan,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Sonia,
Yes.
and Lisa is a yes. Okay, so it's unanimous. Okay, we are gonna move on to the next one, and the next one should go real fast. What I noticed in the calendar, in December, if we were to have 2 meetings, it would be like the 7th and the 21st. Well, I don't think anybody really wants a meeting on the 21st. And there's a lot going on that first week in August in Texas. Every little town has in December, has their Christmas celebrations. So I would like to propose that we move the meeting to the 14th of December and just have one meeting in December. And then in January, Sylvia is taking 2 to 3 weeks off. And so on the 4th of January, she will be returning to work after being off for 2 to 3 weeks. And we will not be prepared to do a meeting on the 4th. And so I am proposing that we do a meeting on January the 11th and just have one meeting. Because then when we go to February and March, both months, it's the 1st and the 15th. And we did return to meetings in February and March.
I have some, so I'd like to weigh in on that if I may.
Sure.
As a possibility, first of all, I would like for us to not only have one meeting in the month of December and in the month of January, for the fact that over the course of the last more months than I can count, we've only had 2, maybe 3 action items on our agendas. And I personally don't feel like we're getting enough accomplished in the time frame that we are already meeting. So if we only have one meeting in December and one in January, it's going to put us that much further behind. So it would be my suggestion I like your idea of the 14th. I certainly agree with the 21st. Everybody's winding down. To have a meeting on the 7th and the 14th of December. And then since Sylvia will be gone, and it's right after the holiday in January, do the 11th and the 18th. So we have meetings back to back in the middle of the month, and we get everything taken care of, all bills paid, and move forward. That's my recommendation.
Okay, is there
So
any
what
other?
were the exact dates you wanted?
7th and the 14th.
December
the
7th.
11th, And the 18th of January.
Correct.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Anybody else have any thoughts?
I'd rather just have it, just once a month in December and January. That's just my preference.
I want to weigh in. I'm the same. I would like to just do one meeting. If we do have more agenda items, I'm willing to start earlier, stay a little bit later on, that day that we are there, so we could accomplish what we need to accomplish.
Any other thoughts?
Yes, I say that let's once a month, and if we need an extra meeting, then let's do it. And then maybe
Do you wanna
we'll
make-
do the one on the 17th, on the 7th in December. If we need another one, then we can, leave it up to the mayor to decide, yeah, we have to have another meeting. Let's do it on the 14th.
Well, it needs
If
to
not, then we
be,
have the rest of December off.
Yes, Lisa?
establishing those dates in advance is not just for our convenience, it's for the public to know when
Right.
a meeting is supposed to happen. So that's the reason for it. If I may just remind my fellow council members, sitting down at a meeting with 14 agenda items, because we only meet once a month. And then by 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and we've got 3 items left, we're all exhausted and we have to push it off. Or we don't make good decisions because we're exhausted. I appreciate meeting earlier. However, people do have work schedules, and 6:30 is our precedence, and it makes a reasonable time frame to get home from work, grab a bite to eat, change your clothes, and arrive. So I'm sticking with my original 2 meetings, and that way they don't have to be 5 hours long.
They don't have to be 5 hours long.
So as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we meet in the month of December on the 7th and the 14th, and in the month of January on the 11th and the 18th.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
No, but I
Okay.
do want discussion.
Well, I have to have a second before we can continue to discuss it. So if we don't have a second, the motion dies.
That's fine.
So
Uh,
does somebody, we need
Okay, I'd like
another
to make a
motion.
motion that we have our meetings December 7th. And another meeting as the mayor needs, if needed, and on January the 11th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I thought this was gonna be a.
I'll
I'll second.
Okay.
Or would you rather have it on January 4th?
Oh, let me, if I,
Okay.
Can we add, I'm sorry, go ahead.
what if we meet in the middle? What if we meet in the middle and only do 1 meeting in the month of December, and in the month of January, by resolution, we are supposed to have a meeting on the 1st and the 3rd Tuesday. So we're already making an adjustment for the month of December. For the month of January, if we have a meeting on the 11th and the 18th, at least the 18th is following what we are supposed to do. So what if
Okay,
we?
I meant,
Can she amend it? Can she
Yes, she
just
can.
amend it? Okay,
I'd like to
She'll
amend
accept.
the emotion to December 7th and January 18th.
or 2 meetings in these January, the 11th and the 18th?
No.
No, just.
No, just one?
Yeah.
1 meeting each
Lisa
month.
wanted to do it on both.
Oh,
dates in Jan-
Both dates.
Oh,
The
the 11th,
11th and the 18th.
yes. We need 2 meetings in January.
Okay,
So
all right, so
Did
one meeting
Always have,
on, let me re-amend. All right, we have a city council meeting on December 7th
Okay,
and another meeting on, and then 2 meetings in January on January 11th and 18th.
I'll second that.
Well,
Wait. Okay, now we can have
I have
a
a
discussion,
Jan-
Sonia.
okay.
yeah,
Do I have a
why
motion?
are we?
Yes, Sonia?
But isn't like that just 1 week later than the 11th? It's like we're having it back to back.
And we've had lots of meetings back to back.
We've been doing
We've
that.
come off of 5 in a row.
We had 8 meetings in a row.
Yes.
already.
Yeah, I like it.
Glad I missed that.
Guess that's me.
A lot of time. That's a lot of time for no meetings. I mean, we gotta pay the bills.
I sort of agree with Lisa, though. I would like to pass some of these future items. I mean, we have a lot that we have just tabled and tabled and tabled. or not.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the
Got it.
motion carries.
Got it.
Okay, next. God.
Okay.
Simple ones.
Yeah, no meeting on the 21st, and we
11th.
moved the 4th to 11th.
Yeah, no, no.
Oh.
And then I need to just throw out there, just since we finished talking about dates. In the very near future, there's gonna be a planning and zoning meeting to deal with one subdivision replat that, will get called.
Okay. Okay, we're moving on to 7C. Discussion and action to move FY 21 budget surplus funds to the long-term capital improvement.
So this is a follow-on on a couple discussions. So this is,
Oh.
in the years past, or the last, I think, 3 years prior to this one, we've, at the end of the year, if there's been budget surplus in the preceding fiscal year, that's been wholesale moved over to the capital improvement fund. As we discussed, I think there's a first meeting in October. When we're discussing our ARPA funding, the American Recovery Plan Act use, our surplus and our cash on hand in general fund and others, there was a small amount that, I had mentioned that we could move from our general fund to our capital improvement fund as we kind of talked through that. That was based off of 2 planning assumptions: keeping a cash on hand reserve amount for cash flow issues in our general fund at a 90-day or 120-day level, and then taking anything above that, moving that over to our capital improvement fund. So the discussion that I was going to prepare for is, now that we're getting into the fiscal year a little bit, does it still make sense to keep the 90 or 120 days? The $7,000, do we want to move the 7,000? Do we want to move 47,000? Do we want to move the full surplus amount? But given how slow we've received our property taxes to this point, as we reviewed with the bunch earlier, I think we probably wanted to table this for another month before we make any decisions on moving money from our general fund or capital improvement fund until.
You do want to table it?
Yes, I want to table this again, if you don't mind.
Alright,
For
I'll
the
make
December.
I'll make a motion that we are going to table item 7C to move FY 21 budget surplus funds to the long-term capital improvement fund. We will table it until when, Jared?
The first meeting in December.
First meeting in
December
December.
10th.
Only meeting in December.
We have the budget reports for. No, we moved it to the 7th. Actually, I'm sorry, Lisa, can we make that for table it to January 11th? That'll give us enough time to close out the calendar year and hopefully get our property taxes in and be on a good.
Now, one thing, if you
Yeah,
want to
so you
bring
can-
up that
you
cash
can-
balance report, the money that you're talking about is already sitting in the PFIA. It's
Yeah.
just moving it from one line to another.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
So did
it's,
you want to do that tonight or can we?
Well, I don't know how much he's wanting to move.
Yeah,
but-
okay. Oh, okay.
I'm telling you, we don't have enough information at this point to make a strong
Yeah, okay,
recommendation to
good.
move a larger amount.
I second,
You can, for the record, I amend
I second.
the motion, I'll amend that motion for January 11.
I think they want to
Second.
get it.
I second.
There we go.
So are we tabling it or?
No, we got to vote on whether we
It
take.
Until January the 11th, or whatever we're meeting in January. Yes.
Okay, so the motion was to table it to,
January 11th.
She modified it to January 11th.
nobody modified it though.
Yes, you
And I
Did
seconded
she?
it. again.
Okay. To, it's the motion is to table it to January 11th. And Jan seconded it. And is there any more discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Bravo.
Okay.
Okay, so I put 8A on here because last time we had a request to consider putting speed bumps on Main Street and maybe a few other streets. And I started to research this a little bit and I just didn't get it finished. The first thing I wanted to know is, can you even put speed bumps on city streets? I don't know if that's even legal.
I think what you need to do is have a traffic impact study. But if you're going to provide it for any sort of traffic calming device, you can't just do it sua sponte. It must be based on
Information.
information and data collected. That's correct.
So I don't have, we have to completely table this because I don't have the
And
information.
no need to table it because it's discussion.
Well, there's no action.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And one thing I did to hear, and if you want to do some research, is that, we're probably going to eventually repair a Main Street. And that you can purchase speed bumps that
Yes.
are removable.
That are
Yes,
removable.
and can be.
So what does the council think about speed bumps?
You
Because
know,
it's been
If we cannot fill our potholes and we spend a dang dime on speed bumps, we are misappropriating our taxpayers' funds. That's what
my opinion too.
The potholes are the speed bumps.
I don't know, Main Street.
They're just a bunch of
Because I live on Main Street and I see
little reverse bump.
how fast those cars come by even.
Yeah,
trucks
sometimes they do.
Inappropriately.
Therefore, we need,
And I
we need to
read,
make sure we have an officer.
Of dogs being run over on Main Street, that are being walked, and killed.
I would have to agree with, I mean, I'm the one that came up years ago with
Yeah.
adopt a bump, remember that, before I
Yeah.
got elected? There is a problem on Main Street, there's a problem on Northwest River Road. People walk their dogs, there's kids, people speed, and I think speed
There's no
bumps.
sidewalks.
What is the speed limit on Main Street right now?
25.
Okay, so as a council, I do believe, because we've done it before, we can actually reduce the speed limit. And we don't have to necessarily have any kind of traffic study to do so. I know that we reduced it on a portion of Northwest River Road. So if we so choose to reduce the speed, then when you've got people driving 40 miles an hour, they can be cited for it.
They could be cited for it now.
Well,
at
sure they can.
25.
Well, sure they can. I mean, if they're going 30, they're probably not gonna get a ticket if the speed limit is 25.
Let's put one of those cop cars out there.
But like I said, I can see, there is a problem on Main Street and a problem on Northwest River Road and Lockhart, because a lot of people walk in this town and I walk and people do,
I won't walk my dogs on my.
because they drive fast and I think, San Marcos does it. I think it's something
that would be beneficial. However, I would say the speed bumps should probably not be installed until the roads are repaved though. I
Yeah,
think that would be detrimental if we take, we don't want to install them and take them back off. We want to make sure that that's done after the roads.
The appropriators can misappropriate.
when I was campaigning, there wasn't one street in this town that people didn't think the speed needed to be reduced. Everywhere. Whether it was
why don't
Lombard Street, whether it was Butterfly Meadows, whether it was Westridge, everybody said people drive too fast.
We need to focus though with TxDOT on FM 1979. That's where we're having a lot of problems, and some of the residents that live on 1979 were going to come tonight and speak about the speeding problem. And I've seen people flying on 1979. We also need to
Yeah, that's
consider
true, by the park. So it's the
closing
place.
off Main Street on Friday and Saturday night. Close off the street completely and divert traffic. If it has to be diverted in front of Carlton's house or somewhere else.
Boston Street.
I think this is a discussion that we need to have when we have somebody from the police department in-house.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, if you want to put this on another agenda, when we for sure have somebody from an officer who can weigh in on what should and should not be done and make certain that they are aware as a department of this problem and that the council is spending time discussing it.
That's good.
Okay,
Mayor, I think, and for Lisa's benefit, Jan, you had just leaned over and mentioned 3 meetings next month, if you want to make an amended motion for that.
okay, you see the list of future items? Does anyone want to add or take away anything that's on that list?
I would like to make certain that is added for the month of December, whatever date we're meeting, the 7th, I believe, that we have the BVRT for our next steps so that we can either instruct city attorney to review so that we can potentially actually have some action, not just a discussion or presentation.
I don't think we're ready for that. I think we need to do more discussion first. I mean, I don't want, I know we need to, I have some education.
Making a decision about going forward. I'm talking about, do we as a council see enough viability in this project or concept that we would want to hand it over to our city attorney for him to begin to review a potential agreement, and so that he can listen to what our needs are and what our thoughts are. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about action, not about making a decision about doing it. So it
Just
does
put
need to
action
be
on there in case there's something that we need to have somebody do.
correct.
Okay, I get it.
Correct.
Do we have to have 3 different companies come and present?
No, there's not 3. There's not 3.
There's probably some merit to the fact if we're going to
We have to do closed bid.
enter into a contractual agreement where the total value
We're-
exceeds a certain amount, that
We
could
can discuss-
potentially apply to this.
We can discuss that part of it.
But
Footing the bill. It's not costing us anything.
Okay, just a minute.
the value, we'd have to look into it. There's a chance that because the value of the contract could be.
Obviously, we need to
Yeah.
discuss.
We may have to
Well,
look
put
at
that on the
every
agenda.
company.
Yes, put that on the
Put that
agenda.
on the
Okay.
agenda so we can talk about that and make some
Yeah.
decisions about it.
Let's talk about it.
Depends if there's an outlay.
Depends on
I
what?
should've
We gotta pay money.
Okay.
taken this before this.
Okay, is there anything else that anyone would like to add or take away?
I think we should talk more about the hotel tax workshop. We do not know enough as to how that money can be spent. We have talked about a roundup of rounding in more clients or more people to participate in that, and we have not gone anywhere with that. So
So we need more discussion on it.
Yes,
Okay.
Do you
discussion.
want a workshop? in
Discussion
December?
on the work.
I recommend that we have a workshop on December 14th.
On the workshop. It's already on the agenda, just say, push it up on there.
Could,
Discuss
could
it.
I-
I don't know.
could I add, I don't know if we could add this or not. I know we got voted down on this, but Bill advertised it funded by Hotel Tax and put / discussion, possibly, a sign that we talked about. I don't know if y'all guys want to talk about that again. Since we're having an issue with the billboards, maybe have another option of having a permanent sign, a nice wooden sign or artistic sign, especially for the city for permanent.
And that could be handled in a hotel motel tax workshop. That could be combined with.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay. We'll put it in the workshop.
Has to promote overnight stays.
That's for my overnight stay.
Can't be stopping and having murder.
We have a workshop.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Tax.
I second.
Who's gonna make? You guys are crazy tonight.
I gotta get home.
Can I
I
have
make a motion that we adjourn.
Mike, do you want to second it?
I got power outage.
Elbow him a little.
Okay,
Electrician trying to call me.
everyone in favor, please say aye.
I
Okay, it's 9:15.
We get Lisa's vote.
Lisa, did you vote?
Oh, sure, yes, great.
I think that's a 9.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jen, if you have
All right.
It's getting